1. What exactly is flirting? The origins of flirting. Flirting was considered an art form during the Victorian era. Young ladies being groomed for marriage were taught how to flirt using fashion accessories as props, while males were trained how to recognize these flirty signals. The use of personal things such as fans, gloves, handkerchiefs, and parasols to communicate interest or disinterest was extensively emphasized in the established signals and patterns of flirting. For example, if a woman fanned herself slowly, it meant she was either married or engaged. If she fanned herself fast, it meant she was single. The woman rested the fan on her right cheek to indicate yes, then on her left cheek to say no. "Come on, follow me," she said while fanning with her right hand in front of her face. And the fast opening and closing of the fan meant she wanted to be kissed. The employment of a fan, gloves, or parasol was a manner of transmitting messages that were always favorably received because everyone understood the flirting language. Winking, messing with your hair, gazing someone in the eyes steadily, crossing your legs, or touching the person you're talking to were historically considered the height of rudeness. In the 19th century, the norms governing social decorum were quite stringent and rigid. Even if they were at the same social event, a man could not talk to a woman unless he had been formally introduced. Yet, flirting of the accepted kind was not only permitted, but encouraged at social occasions. Throughout the 19th and early 20th centuries, flirting was both a social and a business technique. While the term schmoozing may be considered trendy, the concept is anything but. Traditional business dealings, such as negotiating a loan, a sale, or a contract, were performed through a series of social occasions during which time was spent conversing and getting to know each other and their families before deciding to do business. Flirting was supplanted by free love in the 1960s, and people discovered new methods to connect with one another. The dynamics between men and women altered, and flirtation and romance were reinvented as a result. While the lines remained unclear for the next 40 years, flirtation did not die out, though it was overshadowed by sexual impatience and the current meaning of courtship. The faster our lives grew, the more we sought deep and important connections with others. And the more we worked at our jobs, the more fun we craved in our social lives. Flirting has always been a pleasant way to interact with others, so it's no surprise that it's making a comeback in the 21st century. Every day, you encounter new individuals, some of whom you know, some of whom you don't, some of whom you'd like to meet, and some of whom you won't. The quality of these interactions can often decide the quality of your life. This audio is on flirting, specifically the mindset and abilities required to flirt successfully. Flirting is a beautiful thing. It adds vitality to your daily contacts and improves your life. Whether it's through securing a better table at a restaurant, a stranger's grin, or meeting your soul match. When you flirt with someone, you're actually complimenting them. It demonstrates that you have taken attention of them. You undoubtedly already have your own ideas about what flirting means to you, but in this audio, we'll discuss our findings and our interpretations of what flirting is. It's like dancing while you're flirting. One person takes the lead, and the other has the option of following or not. If they choose to follow, there is a steady flow of energy that benefits both of them. Flirting is a lively, active, and playful activity. Everyone who is a part of the project feels good about themselves. It can be a useful approach to get what you want while making people glad to give it to you. True flirting is vague, so you can get away with it almost everywhere. It's pleasant to say something flirtatiously, but the same sentence given with a sexual motivation can come across as slimy and repel people. Flirting crosses the border from flirtation to seduction when it progresses from ambiguity to obviousness. Seduction is about power, sex, or a combination of the two. Flirting is a fun energy focused on making the other person happy. Flirting can, of course, lead to seduction, and you may wish to go overboard from time to time. You will be able to do so with confidence and style after listening to this audio. Knowing where to draw the line will keep you from ending up in bed with someone you've only wanted to talk to or making a disastrous error at work, because they don't know the difference between chatting to and chatting up. Untrained flirts frequently fall into these traps. You'll succeed. Flirting is similar to public speaking in that some people appear to be born with it, while others must learn it. The end outcome, though, is the same: the capacity to pique and maintain the interest of others. Anyone can learn to flirt. All it takes is three things: the appropriate attitude, knowledge of the skills, and use of those techniques. You've seen other folks dabble in fashion and appreciated them for it. Now it's up to you to figure out how to execute it and be capable of doing so. Greetings, and welcome to the realm of flirting. You'll learn the 5 attitudes and 7 abilities you'll need to become a superb flirt in this audio. It's also worth noting that when it comes to flirting, The delivery is everything. Drew enters his favorite coffee shop. It's quiet, and a really lovely female is picking up a takeout order. "Hello, Drew," Sam, the coffee maker, says. "How are things going for you today?" Drew grins as he says, "Sensational." "How did you get so famous?" inquires the girl behind the desk. "I suppose I could tell you, but..." He pauses. "However, you'd have to murder me," she responds. "However, it would be more fun for you to figure it out," Drew continues. "You haven't answered my question yet," the girl says, keeping her cool and appearing to disregard the flirt. Drew says, "Let me ask you a question. How are you doing today?" "All okay, I say," Drew asks, demonstrating an improvement with his hands. "So what would it take to bring it from all right to great?" "Well, that depends on what occurs," says the narrator. Drew responds with a sarcastic "Really? I used to believe that it's not what happened to you that matters, but how you deal with it." "Perhaps you're correct," she mulls. "My name is Drew, and I'd want to introduce myself. How about you?" "Kristen." "Listen, Kristen, here's my card if you want to talk more about this." Kristen accepts Drew's business card. "Do you have a business card with you?" "Sure," she says, handing it over to him. "Can I call you if I haven't heard from you in a couple of days?" "Yes, okay," Kristen says as she walks away. "Wow," Sam exclaims, having been observing and listening to the entire conversation. "Wow, that was easy. That was the quickest I've ever seen someone receive a phone number. And you knew exactly what to say." The flirtatious tone. "It's not your talent, but your attitude that defines your altitude," says motivational speaker Zig Ziglar. Drew was able to flirt with Kristen because he had a positive perspective regarding life, which is attractive. If your attitude stinks, it doesn't matter how wonderful you seem or how intelligent you are with words. Your attitude is determined by your state of mind. And we've discovered 5 states of mind that make up a fantastic flirting attitude based on our study and experience. You will become a truly outstanding flirt if you adopt a nice flirty attitude and apply it to the skills you will learn. Playfulness, fun, paying notice, loving people, going for it are the 5 states of mind or attitudes. Each of these attitudes, in turn, contains the following ingredients: fun, witty, amusing, lively, willing to play the game, paying notice, observing, aware of the other person, showing an interest, loving people, appreciation, acceptance, curiosity, gregarious, social, go for it, taking risks, emancipated, optimistic, opportunistic. Being lighthearted and playful keeps the flirting safe while allowing for a little knot. People are drawn to the energy created by using fun. Taking notice allows the flirt to learn about and exhibit interest in the other person, making them feel special and valued. Great flirts have a lot of friends of the opposite sex. According to our research, great flirts adore people. Male flirts adore and understand women, while female flirts adore and understand men. Flirts also know how to seize the moment. Because they have let go of past hurts and are hopeful about themselves and others, they are not scared to take risks. Return to Drew and Kristen's narrative, and notice how Drew's mental states provided him the perfect attitude for flirting. A study was conducted with children who were learning to play basketball. The children were divided into 2 groups by the researchers. One group was assigned to immediately enter the court and begin shooting hoops. The second group was forced to sit on the bench, but they were told to visualize the ball going through the hoop, how they would need to stand and feel to get the ball in the basket. They were also advised to have faith in their ability to put the ball in the hoop. After then, both groups were given a series of shots at the hoop. The group that had been practicing fared well, but the group who had been waiting on the sidelines to perfect their attitude blitzed it. You may alter your attitude by altering your thoughts and feelings. To be fun, all you have to do is think and feel playful. If you're not feeling very playful right now, recall a time when you were. Take note of your thoughts and feelings at the time. Recognize how just remembering a time when you were being playful makes you feel playful now. Another technique to develop the correct mindset is to envision what it would be like if you were already there. What would you do if you were going to be playful? How would you stand, breathe, and think? You are lighthearted, high-spirited, impish, frisky, and teasing when you are playful. What would you do if you were in this situation? The technique is the same for the remaining 4 attitudes. Playfulness is akin to fun. When you dial up your senses to tune into people, you're taking notice. To learn to love others, consider the people you already accept and value. How do you feel when you're among them? Consider how you'd look at everyone you encounter in the same manner. Have you ever found yourself in a scenario where you had no choice but to go for it? You had nothing to lose and everything to gain, and both your heart and mind agreed that it was the correct thing to do and that you were the ideal person to do it. This is the go for it mindset, and it's how great flirts operate. There are some wonderful exercises in the following chapter for developing the correct attitude and being in the mood to flirt. 7 characteristics of a fantastic flirt. You may acquire and build skills once you have the correct mentality. We'll go through the abilities in more detail in the following chapters, and there are lots of exercises to help you become a master flirt. But for now, here's a list and a quick explanation. Choose when to sell yourself. Get in sync. Insight. Word power. Out of sight. Make them feel wonderful. Great flirts know how to market themselves. They simply know how to portray themselves in a way that is enticing and beautiful. Flirts also have an excellent sense of time and place, allowing them to flirt at their leisure. To flirt well, you must develop eye contact and establish rapport, which is referred to as the get-in-step talent. The capacity to perceive and understand nonverbal flirting signals is known as insight. Knowing what to say to have the proper impact is what word power is all about. Flirts don't have to be face-to-face. They can use technology to make the first move or stay in touch while keeping the energy flowing. Flirts have the potential to make individuals feel good about themselves by making them feel good about themselves. Flirting personalities extraordinaire. Many well-known figures have flirty personalities. Some of them have made top 10 lists of the sexiest men and women of their era. And they all have one thing in common. They have captivated our attention by the flirty signals they send out to the general public. We sense their energy is focused and in for us, despite the fact that we have never been within a bull's roar of them. Bill Clinton is one of the most recognized flirting personalities, with his gentle southern accent and the way a smile always dances about his mouth. Nicole Kidman is a great example of a flirty woman. Her voice has a childlike aspect to it, and her eye contact flutters 1 minute and is frank the next. With a wink, she comes across as witty. George Clooney flirts his way past the media circus that follows him on a regular basis. His laid-back demeanor is accentuated by the most dazzling smile that lights up his entire face, and it appears to be directed specifically at you. Sean Connery is a natural flirt, and is still regarded as one of the world's sexiest men. He's a master at making the kind of eye contact that makes everyone else feel excluded. He engages you with his gaze and enslaves you. The actors picked to play James Bond, on the other hand, were chosen because they are sleek, smart, and sexy. Sean Connery is all of these things and more. Also, take attention of the Bond. To achieve what he wants, he frequently crosses the line and employs seduction rather than flirting. Kylie Minogue used to be flirty, but her manner has evolved, and she is now a seductress. So, what are your thoughts on flirting? If you've made it this far, it's safe to assume you either want to learn how to flirt or want to improve your current skills. As a result, the first step is to examine your preconceived notions about flirting. Flirting is one of those phrases that can elicit passionate debate among individuals. What you believe affects how you act. So take the following survey to figure out what you think about flirting. Fill in the blanks with the first thing that comes to mind when reading the following statements. I get this feeling while I'm flirting. When someone flirts with me, I feel. I know I'm flirting when I say. I only flirt with someone if. I'd never flirt with. And I'd never flirt with. Flirting women are usually. Flirting men are usually. If you're flirting at work, you should. Now you must respond to the following questions. What comes to mind when you think about flirting? Would you describe yourself as a flirt? What aspect of your flirting do you want to improve? Have you responded to all of the questions? It's critical that you answer the questions before continuing, since you'll be a better flirt if you understand your attitudes and values. We'd like to share some of the replies we've received as a result of our research into people's attitudes around flirting. I get enthusiastic, alive, free, mischievous, cheeky, playful, adventurous, sensual, and sometimes even a little naughty when I flirt. I feel pleased, energized, pumped, attractive, flattered, exhilarated, stimulated, glad, good about myself, admired, liked, and appreciated when someone flirts with me. When I try to catch someone's attention, become active, aroused, spend a lot of time chatting to someone, notice small details about someone, become timid, am flippant, or try hard, I know I'm flirting. I only flirt with someone if I think they're receptive, beautiful, and have some chemistry with them. Now you must respond to the following questions. What comes to mind when you think about flirting? Would you describe yourself as a flirt? What aspect of your flirting do you want to improve? Or rapport, feel they are receptive to it. Want them to like me, want them to feel good about themselves. Trust them, like them, feel at ease with them. Want to be with them. Want them to notice me. Someone who is married or has a spouse, a friend's partner, an ex-partner, a work colleague, someone I don't like, someone I don't know. A friend of my partner are all people I would never flirt with. Confident, shallow, seductive, self-assured, pleasant to be around, outgoing, typically testing the waters, conscious of their sexuality, and know how to exploit it. usually seeking something from the man. Men that flirt are gregarious, trying very hard, not fun for other men to be around, confident, sleazy, entertaining. After a bit, fun, wanting to know whether the lady is receptive. After a bit, gregarious, trying extremely hard, not fun for other men to be around, confident, sleazy, entertaining. As you can see, people have differing perspectives on flirting. Take the lady who enjoys flirting and feels loved and appreciated when someone flirts with her, but believes that women who flirt are usually superficial, and men who flirt are frequently sleazy. Did you hold any views that were contradictory or outdated? Do you have any ground rules, such as that flirting is okay at a party but not at work? Conflicting views about flirting aren't uncommon, but they'll keep you from becoming a master flirt, just like attitudes that hold you back. We hope that as you listen to this audio and practice the exercises, you will discover that flirting is a pleasant, energizing, and natural way of life. There are no mental games in flirting. You've probably heard this statement before. The majority of people are afraid of, or claim to dislike, playing mind games. We appear to be looking for openness and honesty in communication, as well as clear and uncomplicated agendas. The issue is that we are constantly playing games with ourselves in our heads. Will I or won't I? Shall I or shan't I? And so on. And every meeting with another person is, technically speaking, a game. The brilliant mathematician John Nash, who had any social skills, was dramatized in the film A Beautiful Mind, which served as a great example of what not to do. I don't know precisely what I'm supposed to say in order for you to have intercourse with me, but can we presume I've said all that? And fundamentally, we're talking about fluid exchange, so can we go straight to the sex? He remarked to a lady in a pub in the film. Not surprisingly, her response was to slap him. Because they enjoy the game of flirting. A flirt would never do such a thing. Flirting with someone you're interested in allows you to measure their reaction and amount of interest in you. Flirting can be like dipping your toe into the water to assess the temperature rather than plunging right in and getting caught off guard. Your attitudes and views about flirting determine the guidelines and bounds for where it's okay to go and where it's not okay to go. In other words, where the line is drawn. In truth, the rules of all the games you play in life are determined by your beliefs and attitudes. Would you like to understand how to set the atmosphere for flirting and how to play the flirting game with someone? Then continue reading. Learn the rules, put them into practice, and come up with winning methods. Because the flirt notices others and actually cares about people, the correct flirting attitude makes this game entertaining and safe. Do you like to flirt? Is it easy for you to strike up a conversation with someone you don't know? Do you like to observe people? Do you have a natural ability to congratulate others? Do you make an effort to make eye contact with others all of the time? Are you a tactile person? Do you pick up on other people's vibes? Do you know how to detect whether someone is interested in you? Are you able to make someone smile? Points to remember. Flirting is a fun activity. Flirting is a form of flattery. Flirting is enjoyable. Flirting is a form of communication. Flirting is a hazy, non-obvious activity. Flirting is a game, and you need the correct mentality to do it well. 2. In a good mood. Is it necessary to be in the mood to flirt? Inquired one of our seminar attendees. We said, of course. However, keep in mind that you can select your mood at any time. Flirting makes you happy, but you have to be happy in order to flirt. Doesn't that make sense? Yes, it is. Your mood is entirely up to you. Damn rain, Kelly grumbled as she gazed out the window of her bedroom. Her hangover seemed to be in keeping with the mood of the day. She reasoned that coffee would make her feel better. She dragged herself out of bed, threw on her sloppy sweater, and walked over to the fridge. When she realized she was out of coffee, she said, "Bugger, why is it that this has to happen to me? Going out is the last thing on my mind. It's only rain, after all, and I really need a coffee," she thought to herself as she gazed out the kitchen window. She had the option of staying at home all day or accepting the rain and walking to the coffee shop. She made a split-second decision. She put on her trousers and sneakers and went to the wardrobe to get her coat and umbrella. It was much nicer outside than she had anticipated. The rain made song on the leaves, and the air was fresh with the aroma of wet gardens. When she arrived, the cafe was packed, but there was a table near the door. She headed to the counter with her coat and umbrella to claim it. "A skinny latte, please," she said to the attractive young man collecting orders. He grinned and repeated the order to the coffee machine operator. "Isn't this a beautiful day to sit and read the newspaper while sipping coffee?" he murmured to Kelly. "I suppose it is, once you accept the weather and just go out of the home," she said. Kelly returned to the table with her cappuccino. The coffee smelled and tasted fantastic. The cafe was crowded with the pleasant sounds of conversing voices. Her mood changed when she remembered what the guy at the counter had said. She realized how much she valued days like this. She had some alone time, and the weather couldn't bring down her spirits unless she let it. She was doing exactly what she wanted to be doing. Kelly's tale exemplifies how we may alter our mood, attitude, or mental state. What we focus on determines how we think and feel. Do you control your mood or does it control you? You always have a state of mind or attitude. The question is whether your attitude is attractive or a turn-off to anybody you come into touch with. You have the ability to select your attitude because you have the ability to choose your ideas. And you should choose a positive attitude since it will influence the quality of your day, life, and relationships. Taking charge. You'll experience a variety of moods or states of mind during the day. Some favorable, some intense, and others downright ugly. The first step toward feeling good and becoming flirty is to identify and measure your moods. This will reveal what causes you to react positively or adversely. It makes no difference what you call your moods as long as you understand how they make you feel. For instance, you might wake up in a groggy state, then realize you're late, and then become frantic. On your walk to the station, you pick up a takeout coffee, inhale the aroma, and go into a bliss mood. You zone out on the train or bus, or you have a taking attention attitude while people watching. Have you gotten the picture? A journal is a good tool to keep track of your moods. You can symbolize your moods with small bubbles, as shown in the diagram on the next page, and rate their strength from positive to negative. You can also write down any triggers that sent you into that mental, emotional state beside the bubble. We recommend keeping a bubble record in your diary since becoming conscious is the first step toward correcting any negative attitudes you may have. How can you shift from a negative to a more pleasant or flirty mood? This is something we started talking about in Chapter 1. The key is to realize that memory and imagination both rely on the same brain circuits that allow us to experience the world. This academic language simply means that your brain and body react in the same way to fantasy and reality. Sports psychologists have long understood this, which is why they have top players undertake mental rehearsal drills identical to the ones used in the study with the kids shooting baskets. Have you ever seen the film The Matrix? Neo attempted to jump between two tall buildings while connected to the simulator. He didn't make it, instead collapsing onto the pavement. He had blood in his mouth as they unhooked him. I didn't believe it was true, he explained. It's real because of your thinking, Morpheus said. You can either recall a time when you were in that state or envision what it would be like to be in that state to get into a flirting mood. Add a dash of mental imagery and a soundtrack, then amp up the emotion, and you've got everything you need to be playful, fun. Go for it, in fact, any state of mind you want. You should practice this because you never know when you'll need to be flirty on the spur of the moment. Exercising to access your mood. You might find it helpful to have someone read the following passage to you a few times. This snapshot of your mood can be used whenever you need a mental shift. It's a good idea to go through this exercise a few times to make sure you've got it. Remember a period when you were comfortable conversing with strangers, a time when you were confident, playful, and even flirting. Now, in your imagination, fully immerse yourself in that time and relive it from the inside of your skin, staring out your eyes. Take note of what you saw, especially the cheerful expressions. Pay attention to what you've said. Take note of your breathing and muscle tone. Feel the same way you did. Good. Now try increasing the picture's brightness. Is the sensation becoming more acute as a result of this? If it does, great. If it doesn't, try darkening the image, zooming in, or zooming out. Adjust the volume. Does the sensation become more intense when the volume is increased? Take a mental snapshot of how you feel when you have the most extreme flirting attitude. Doesn't it feel good? Remember that you can return to this state at any time by simply remembering. Correct. Performing a ritual might sometimes help you get in the mood. Consider using candles for that special supper. Music and fragrance are two important cues for getting in the appropriate mindset. Do you have a favorite piece of music that sets the tone for you? Put it on right now, or listen to it in your brain, and see how you feel. What is your favorite olfactory sensation? Perfumes and aftershaves, of course, might signal to your brain that it's time to get amorous. But have you tried essential oils? Because your brain responds strongly to fragrance. If you don't know what patchouli or ylang-ylang are, it's time to go to your local health food store. When a Japanese corporation vaporized lemon and pumped it around their workplaces, the volume of data entered by their staff increased dramatically. Consider the scents that bring back memories, have certain connotations, or put you in a certain mood. Smells have a lot of power when it comes to flirting, but maybe not in the manner you think. Instead of luring a possible mate, the smell you wear is meant to make you feel wonderful. Guys, don't expect them to flock to you because of your aftershave. Girls are more likely to be attracted to the smell of freshly baked banana bread, according to some research. Pheromone sprays, on the other hand, are a waste of money. While some male pheromones, but certainly not all, can elicit female arousal, they are only effective at a distance of 45 centimeters. She won't know where the smell is coming from unless you get up close and personal, so you'll still be competing with the other men in the room. You must be alone with her for pheromones to have any effect, and once you've done that, there are additional arousal strategies that are far more powerful. Go for it if your aftershave isn't too strong. Little is more and makes you feel nice. You'll flirt more effectively if you feel good about yourself. A quick note on perspiration, which isn't a foolproof method. Male perspiration can be attractive to some women, but only when it is fresh. You must time it correctly. If you lose your window of opportunity, 20 minutes, it will be repellent. Did you know that a woman's capacity to detect musk, a prominent element in perfumes, is 1,000 times stronger than a man's? When you wear sexy scents containing musk, you are considerably more likely to be excited than any potential male companions. So, if you enjoy wearing perfume, do it for yourself and the pleasure it brings you. If you want the males to follow you home, you should smell like freshly baked muffins. Cooking scents, according to study, are more likely to attract and create an impression on a man. Your personal checklist. Take out your pen and notebook and answer the following questions to figure out what makes you happy. Describe 3 places or situations in which you feel completely at ease and relaxed. Make a list of 3 places or situations that elicit excitement or anticipation in you. What colors do you associate with happiness? What colors come to mind when you think of flirting? Describe 3 of your most thrilling experiences. When was the last time you felt confident that you could accomplish anything you set your mind to? Make a list of the 5 things in your life that make you happy. What song makes you feel like you're ready to flirt? What song makes you feel motivated and energized? What do you wear when you're going to spend the day at home relaxing? What is your favorite flirting outfit? Do you have a go-to outfit for making a good first impression? What is your favorite fragrance? What is your favorite cologne for men? Make a list of your top 5 favorite scents and what they remind you of. Self-talk. Something as innocuous as your evening preparation ritual can be a recipe for success or disaster. If you tell yourself, "I have nothing to wear or I look awful," you are not preparing yourself to be playful, and you will not go for it. Will you? Bridget Jones's Diary has a great scene where she is getting ready to go out with her boss and is deciding which underwear to wear. Her self-talk tells her that if she doesn't wear the sexy knickers, nothing will happen. Bridget doesn't wear the sexy knickers because she wants something to happen but isn't expecting anything to happen. And, of course, something does happen. Her boss discovers her enormous panties. Bridget uses a twisted argument with herself, but the movie's funny scene shows how we all have conversations with ourselves. The tone of these conversations, as well as the questions we ask ourselves, have a significant impact on our attitude and ability to flirt successfully. The quality of the questions we ask ourselves determines the quality of our lives. Mr. Tony Robbins. Flirts pose good questions to themselves, which puts them in a good mood. Here are a few examples of flirtatious and self-deprecating questions. Self-destructive questions. Flirtatious questions. Why don't people understand what I'm saying? What should I do to establish rapport with others? Why is it so difficult to meet new people? What are some of the things I can do to get more people to like me? Why is it so difficult for me to communicate with others? What questions can I ask to elicit information about them? Why can't I just go out and have a good time? How can I have a good time tonight? What am I going to say? What can I say to compliment them? Will I come across as stupid? How can I be lighthearted and playful? Is my performance adequate? What do I appreciate about people? Is this the right person for me? Is this person appealing to me? Try saying these lines to yourself and see how you feel. If you catch yourself self-sabotaging, stop and think of a question that will make you feel good. Own your attitude. Keep in mind that you are not your attitude or emotions. They are simply something you are doing. Nobody can also force you to think or feel anything you don't want to. People frequently say things like, "My partner makes me sad," "You make me so angry," or "My boss makes me feel inferior." We understand that some people are very good at making you feel certain emotions, but they are your emotions. So don't let anyone take advantage of them. Take charge of your mood. It is ultimately up to you how you feel. Charlie Brown, the great cartoon philosopher of our time, frequently demonstrated how we own our moods. "This is my sad pose," says CB. "To look sad, round your shoulders, look at the ground, and think sad thoughts," says CB. "If you look up, smile, and think happy thoughts," says CB. "It takes all the joy out of being sad," says CB. If you are aware that you are in a bad or depressing mood, you can pause and recognize that it is your choice. Take a step back and select a more useful attitude. Having some pre-rehearsed triggers, such as songs, smells, and memories, will make controlling your body and mind much easier. If you completed the mood accessing exercise on page 21, you have already begun to do this. We asked you to take a snapshot of your mind and body when they were fully in the mood. There are a few things you can do to make these moments even more memorable and intense. The key is the number of circuits you've activated in your mind and body. This is the bedrock upon which all accelerated learning techniques are built. When you've decided on an attitude that you'd like to be able to use whenever you want, step into it, fully experience it, and then make it memorable with a word, phrase, or body movement. Tim, a friend of ours, has an amusing way of getting into his flirting moods. Remember Right said Fred's song "I'm Too Sexy for My Shirt"? Tim, on the other hand, he does a little dance and sings "I'm too sexy for my shirt" just before going into any situation where he has to perform. You should see the difference in his expression and the way his body exudes confidence. Amanda, another friend, has a great way of starting each day. She sings the James Brown song "I Feel Good" while dancing around in the shower and washing her hair. She is feeling good and has put a positive spin on her day by the time she is dressed and ready to face the world. You'll be surprised at how changing your attitude affects how people react to you. This is due to the fact that you never communicate directly with anyone. Instead, you speak with your attitude to their attitude. However, if you have bonded with someone, he or she will naturally adjust his or her attitude to match yours. People will be drawn to your fun, playful attitude now that your intention is clear, and flirting may be a natural outcome. This is extremely powerful to understand. By taking control of your mental state, you can subtly invite others to change their attitude and then link that feel-good experience back to yourself. Important points. You choose your moods, states of mind, attitudes. Flirting is a feel-good activity. Self-talk influences how you feel and what you do. 3. Promoting yourself. Marketers understand that first impressions are made in seconds or fractions of seconds when selling their product. Flirting is a form of self-promotion. To do so, you must first develop your personal brand, how you present yourself to others and understand your internal marketing, how you see yourself. Then make them work together. This may come across as impersonal, but we want you to get the message and be objective about yourself for a moment. The secret to marketing is to capture the consumer's heart and mind, making your product desirable and memorable. When a marketing firm achieves consumer recognition and an emotional response, they have succeeded in developing a brand. What comes to mind when you think of Coke or Nike? You're probably aware that Coke is the real thing, and Nike is just do it. While it is important for consumers to recognize your brand and want your product, it is equally important for the company to be staffed with people who are enthusiastic about the company and its products. To accomplish this, a company invests time and resources in developing employee loyalty and appreciation for the products or services it sells. This is known as internal marketing. You are always on display, whether in a social or business setting, so it is important to make the right impression no matter where you are or who you are with. To accomplish this, we recommend that you create your own personal brand. Philip, for example, had come to us for coaching. He lamented the fact that whenever he saw a pretty girl he wanted to talk to, he just froze. We discovered that Philip wasn't convinced of his own product. He just didn't think he was good enough to talk to a pretty girl. Working with Philip, we assisted him in seeing the qualities he possessed and realizing how pointless it is to self-judge because others will see you as you see yourself. Philip learned to deactivate his self-judgment. He began to view meeting a girl as a chance to make a friend rather than a date. When Philip was out doing field work and branding himself as the type of guy you'd want to have as a friend, he noticed an attractive girl handing out leaflets at a shopping center. He felt his old anxiety at first, but this time he accepted it and decided to flirt. The girl took a break to get some ice cream, and Philip approached her and inquired, "What flavor are you having?" "It's chocolate, the new chocolate." "I guess I'll have that as well," he said. Philip and the girl began chatting, and Philip gave her a few flirtatious signals. She told him she had noticed him while handing out the leaflets and hoped he would approach her. Philip continued to flirt with her encouragement, and she responded positively. The girl had to return to work after a few minutes, but Philip obtained her phone number and sent her an SMS later that day, creating a sense of self. The most important person with whom you can flirt is yourself. Your own beliefs and attitudes about yourself will shape how others perceive you. When we coach people, we notice that their ability to flirt and build relationships improves dramatically when they see themselves positively and acceptingly. Flirting with someone is made easier if you feel good about yourself. You can then make them feel good. And you've created the ultimate feel-good scenario. How well do you really know yourself? It's time to strip naked and take a good look at yourself. With self-awareness, you will be more comfortable reaching out to flirt with others, making them feel special while reaping the benefits. If your phone isn't constantly ringing with people wanting to spend time with you, you haven't yet achieved magnetic personality status. The good news is that you're much closer than you think. In fact, the solution is as close as the tip of your nose. Flirting can play an important role in getting what you want. There's a natural law that applies to flirting and relationships in general. You have to be before you can have. Many people believe that if they were popular or had that special someone in their lives, they would be happier and like themselves more. Nature's law states that you must first like yourself. Make yourself at ease in your own skin. Your self-esteem is determined by your attitude toward yourself. Understanding the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence is essential if you want to feel at ease in your own skin. Self-esteem is a process, not a product. Self-esteem is not static. Rather, it is dynamic. The word esteem means worth. We value ourselves through self-esteem, and we are constantly valuing, judging, and discounting ourselves. Negative self-talk is an example of judging or discounting. I'll never be good at this, or I'm not attractive. To successfully flirt, you must stop discounting yourself and begin accepting yourself unconditionally. Self-assurance, on the other hand, has nothing to do with who you are. It's all about what you're capable of. There are things you excel at and things you have yet to master. For example, flirting. Your self-esteem is an assessment of your abilities in various areas of life. If you believe that there is no failure, only feedback, you can stop passing judgment on yourself. By refraining from making judgments, you open yourself up to learning and improving in areas where you have yet to master. When viewed in this light, you can improve your self-confidence and flirting skills without jeopardizing your self-esteem. When you like yourself and are at ease with who you are, you will be able to relate to others in a more appealing manner. You'll appear quietly confident rather than as if you're trying to get others to meet your needs. Some people, however, simply do not understand the distinction between confidence and arrogance. Confidence is important for flirting, but arrogance is not. You may have never been to Spain and speak no Spanish, but if you're willing to book a plane ticket, fly to Madrid, catch a taxi to a hotel, and then find your way around the city, self-assurance. That's sure, you might get lost, but you'd be resourceful enough to buy a map and figure it out, wouldn't you? Everyone has things they are extremely confident in doing. We're guessing you're reasonably confident in your ability to tie your shoelaces, brush your teeth, and dress yourself. There are many things you do now with confidence that you did not previously. As our fingers fly across the keyboard while working on this content, we both recall a time when neither of us felt comfortable turning on a computer, let alone using one to write books, balance a checkbook, or bank online. You may not be overly confident about going out and flirting, but you may be overly confident about who you are and what you have already mastered. From experience, you should be confident that if it can be learned, you can learn it. Whatever it is, all it takes is knowledge, practice, and a positive attitude. The assured approach is to say, if someone else can do it, I can do it, and I'm going to have some fun learning. Take that attitude and put it on. Wear it in your posture, sitting, breathing, and walking. To be a confident flirt and be in a go-for-it mood, you must let go of any past hurts and rejections. Any baggage you carry from your past will stymie your flirting success. Exercising the ability to let go of past hurts. Write down any negative experiences you've had while flirting or in a relationship on a piece of paper. Write down any rejections, manipulations, breaches of trust, dumpings, or anything else that made you unhappy. You can now do one of two things. Burn the paper, or fold it into a paper plane to throw out a window. In any case, take advantage of this opportunity to let go and begin again, and be prepared to have fun. Touch and connect with honesty, respect, and understanding. Personal branding. Let's look at the idea of having a personal brand. The following story exemplifies the power. 5 guys are at a party when they notice an attractive girl across the room. The first guy approaches her and says, "Hello, I'm great in bed, how about it?" This is known as direct marketing. The following guy pays a friend $20 to approach the girl and say, "Hi, my friend over there is great in bed, how about it?" That is known as advertising. The third guy obtains the girl's phone number and intends to call her later to say, "I am fantastic in bed, how about it?" This is known as telemarketing. The fourth guy approaches the girl and begins chatting with her. He is charming and humorous. "I am great in bed, how about it?" he says after he has her laughing. This is known as relationship marketing. The last guy spends the first half of the evening talking to a variety of people. He is quietly confident and maintains eye contact and a smile with the girl. "Hi, I'll bet you're great in bed. How about it?" says the pretty girl as she walks over to him. That is the strength of branding. What we want you to think about now is how you will build your personal brand. What do you want people to remember you for? Consider a person you admire or a hero from film or television. What do you find appealing about them? Make a list of the qualities you admire in them. This is a personal branding exercise, so grab a pen and paper and get ready to get real. This set of questions is intended to help you identify your personal brand. Not every question will provide you with an answer, but give them some thought. 1. What kind of car would you be if you were a car? 2. What kind of animal would you be if you were an animal? 3. What kind of scent or smell would you be if you were a scent or smell? 4. What color would you be if you were a color? 5. What food would you be if you were a food? So, what does it all mean? There are no absolutes, but let's consider some possibilities. If you consider yourself a Volvo, you probably consider yourself to be safe or dependable. If you describe yourself as a Porsche or a Ferrari, you might think you don't need a flirting book because you're already pretty hot. The animal you choose reveals a lot about how you perceive yourself. We use phrases like as quiet as a mouse, as sly as a fox, and as loyal as a dog to refer to these animal characteristics. Here's a look at some of the more well-known animals. Animal personalities. Dog, devoted, loyal, and trusting. Cat, balanced, wise, and self-reliant. Bears are thoughtful, strong, and require their own space. Elephants have a good memory, are strong, and are family-oriented. The fox is astute, adaptable, and quick to act. Dolphin, nature-connected, gentle, aware, psychic. Mouse, shy, quiet, and meticulous. Lion, self-assured, a leader, a hunter, often for personal truths. Dragon, strong, intelligent, and magical. Smell is a highly personal and emotional sense. It, like food, is frequently associated with memories of the past. A friend of ours enjoys the scent of eau de cologne 4711, which her grandmother used to wear. Despite the fact that it is no longer a popular scent, she adores it and frequently opts for perfumes containing neroli, the predominant scent in 4711. Similarly, some people enjoy the scent of Old Spice, a popular aftershave in the 1960s. The associations, the pleasant memories, are often what entice us to a smell or a taste. When deciding on which smells or foods to be, consider what memory is associated with it. This will provide you with some insight into what motivates your decision. Our reactions to color are often subjective and culturally based. While some responses are well known and widely accepted, not all cultures agree. Green, for example, is the mythical color of fairies, leprechauns, and the magical shamrock to the Irish. Whereas green has religious significance to Muslims and is thought to have been the color preferred by Muhammad, it is also the color of the holy flag carried into battle when Mecca was conquered. Similarly, white is the color of brides in Western tradition and represents optimism and peace, whereas in traditional Asian societies it represents mourning and would never be worn at a wedding or celebration. Aside from these broader cultural associations, it is thought that our favorite colors reveal something about our personal characteristics. In the table below, we've identified some of the more common associations. Color characteristics. White represents optimism, peace, gentleness, high standards for oneself and others, and critical thinking. Blue, calm, relaxed, secure, confident, self-sufficient, responsible, and judgmental. Yellow is a stimulating, happy, intelligent, optimistic, organized, and bossy color. Orange, cheerful, self-confident, forgiving, good-natured, friendly, impatient. Red represents strength, assertiveness, determination, warmth, sensuality, and rage. Green, peaceful, relaxed, prosperous, connected to nature, prone to irresponsibility. Violet is a soothing, artistic, intuitive, spiritual, sensitive, compassionate, and vulnerable color. Black, enigmatic, dramatic, self-controlling, authoritarian, strong-willed, disciplined. The following exercise reveals your self-perception. Take these questions to a trusted friend if you want to know how your personal brand will be perceived in the marketplace. Ask them to respond in terms of how they perceive you. Their responses may surprise you, but they will be extremely useful. You'll get a good sense of how other people perceive you. And since feedback is the breakfast of champions, eat up. When you're ready, request a second helping. Why personal brand? With your newfound self-awareness and understanding of how others perceive you, it's time to create your me brand. Make a personal profile that is at least 50 words long. Some ideas for what to describe include who you are, Not what you do, your positive characteristics, what you care about, what you have contributed to your dreams and aspirations. After completing this exercise, you may be surprised at how much clearer you are about who you are and what you have to offer, as well as how your future interactions can be more natural and enjoyable. Being more certain of who you are allows you to appreciate the uniqueness of those with whom you flirt. You'll be less concerned with what they think of you and more concerned with what they think of themselves, allowing you to bridge the gap by talking about their favorite subject, themselves. Obtaining attention. It's preferable to be looked over than ignored. Me Wests. So, why do you need to stand out? More than half of the work is done if you can get someone to notice you. You only need to capture someone's attention for a few seconds to be noticed. Once they are aware of you, it is up to you to take the necessary steps to ensure that you make a good impression. Saxon was interviewing for a position at an advertising agency. The job was in the mailroom, but Saxon knew that if he wanted to work in advertising, he needed to start here. Every year, the agency advertised this position at the same time. Their policy was to either promote or fire mailroom employees at the end of a year on the job, depending on their performance. Saxon knew he would be one of hundreds of applicants, and if he wanted to be noticed, he needed to stand out from the crowd. He worked on his application for a week. With the help of a graphic artist, created a professionally styled and presented application in the form of an advertisement about himself, telling the agency what the benefits of hiring him would be. He got an interview first, then the job, and he was out of the mailroom within 6 months of starting at the agency. The management labeled him as special from the start. Posture. Charlie Brown's sad posture was mentioned in Chapter 2. Do you move and stand confidently when you enter a social situation, or do you adopt a sad posture? Do you appear to be having fun and ready to have a good time, or does your posture scream shyness or stress? Your posture affects how you think, and your posture affects how you think. The mind and the body are inseparably linked. We have a lot of fun messing around with posture when we're coaching or teaching workshops. Do you recall the mood accessing exercise? This can be used to make you feel playful, confident, alive, and flirtatious. You can be confident, elegant, and playful simply by thinking the thoughts and remembering how it feels, and you can go for it. And if you can't recall ever feeling like this, imagine how you'd feel if you took on the posture of these emotions. The key to standing out is to move in such a way that people notice how you move. Do you recall seeing someone move through a room while maintaining a cool demeanor? What was it like to watch them? What were your thoughts? Consider someone lumbering through the same space in an awkward manner. Consider the difference you notice as an observer. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to know how to sit comfortably while remaining calm and composed? In contrast, consider the person who sits like a sack of potatoes thrown into a corner. The difference between these two people is, once again, in their posture. It is true that we make snap judgments about people and they make snap judgments about us in a split second. Don't underestimate the significance of your posture to your success and relationships. Good posture is about connecting your mind to your body so you can notice how you feel. Yoga and Pilates classes are excellent for reconnecting with your body and mind in this manner. They're also very in right now, so you'll have plenty of chances to meet people and practice your flirting at the same time. Roll down exercise from a standing position. The first move in a Pilates class is this. It can make you a much more potent flirt because it has a huge impact on your mind-body connection. Stand barefooted on a flat surface while wearing comfortable, loose-fitting clothing. Make sure your weight is evenly distributed between each foot, and that the ball of your foot, the base of your little toe, and the heel of each foot have 3 points of contact with the floor. These are the tripods you'll be using. Imagine a line connecting the 2 bone points in your pelvis front. This is referred to as your B-line. To get it closer to your spine than your navel, gently tense your pelvic floor muscles so that your B-line is dragged towards your spine. You should be able to accomplish this while maintaining a comfortable breathing pattern. Consider bringing your shoulder blades down towards your back pockets. Feel as if your head is being dragged upwards toward the sky or ceiling. Deeply and completely inhale and exhale. Roll your head forward, then your shoulders as you exhale by sighing. Your hands should be moving toward the floor as you roll your spine forward. Allow your knees to bend slightly if the backs of your legs feel tight. You should be fully bent forward at the hips at the end of the sigh. Stay in that position while taking a deep breath in through your armpits. Draw your B-line in and roll your spine up, vertebra by vertebra, like a string of beads being rolled up against an imaginary wall as you exhale again. When you're back on your tripods, draw in your B-line, pull your shoulder blades back, extend your head to the ceiling, breathe in, and roll forward again. You'll be shocked at how flexible and centered you feel if you do this 7 to 10 times every morning. Dress. Sophia Loren's first film break is the subject of a fascinating narrative. She was able to secure an invitation to a party where she knew many producers and directors would be present. It was a posh affair, and all the ladies were decked out in their finest, complete with pricey jewelry. Sophia wore a plain white cotton dress with no jewelry in order to stand out. She was noticed by every male in the room. After that, the rest is history. This is one for the ladies. The majority of men prefer a little intrigue. Just a glimpse of thigh or a hint of shoulder is enough to set his mind racing. Keep in mind that the less you show, the more fantasy he will have. Guys spend a lot of time thinking about what they're going to wear and preparing to appear their best, whereas girls spend a lot of time thinking about what they're going to wear and preparing to look their best. They admire a man who has taken care to his appearance as well as his apparel. You'll always be appreciated for your exceptional taste if you keep it understated and classy. You'll stand out from the crowd if you put some effort into your attire. Casanova, history's greatest flirt, had a large wardrobe and knew how to make the most of it. When it comes to impressing the opposite sex, Casanova's countrymen have continued to grasp the importance of flair. Italians, in fact, spend twice as much of their discretionary income on clothing as any other country in the world. Even if you love to lounge about in a t-shirt and jeans, you'll need something a little more striking in your closet. Fortunately for you, there is almost certainly a lady in your family, relatives, or acquaintances who enjoys dressing males. Enlist her assistance in sorting through your closet and getting rid of the shabby items. Allow her to take you shopping after you've dedagged your wardrobe and listen to her recommendations. When it comes to attire, the most essential thing to remember is to feel at ease and dress appropriately for the occasion. Points to remember: make a good first impression. Before you can have, you must first be. Let go of your past baggage. Create your own personal brand. Become at ease in your own skin. Maintain proper posture and dress appropriately. 4. Choosing the right time. For most exceptional flirts, knowing the proper time, place, and situation to flirt is second nature. Because true flirting is vague, you can always get away with it everywhere. We mentioned in Chapter 1. So, why are we debating when and where we should flirt? Although you can flirt any place, there are times and locations when it's best to keep your flirting to a minimum, and other times when you'll lose out on wonderful flirting opportunities if you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. Consider the case of 19-year-old John and his friends, who took a cab home after a disastrous night at a local bar. They were asked if they had a good night by the cab driver. "It was fine," the boys muttered. The cab driver said, "Didn't you score?" John and his pals hadn't done so. "You know, I just picked up 2 carloads of lovely girls from that establishment, and they were all grumbling that not a single guy cared to say hi to them," the cabbie explained. That night, John and his pals learned a valuable lesson. While his friends laughed it off, John never did the same thing again. He's evolved into a fantastic flirt since he now makes a point of smiling and saying hi to everyone he meets. Getting in touch. There are 2 primary methods for contacting someone. Making eye contact is the first step. If there is any curiosity, the first smile is usually followed by the second. These are 2 easy and risk-free strategies to begin flirting. It's easy to make eye contact. It's a quick glance in someone's way that catches their attention. This can be done from across a crowded room or while walking over to introduce yourself. Often, 2 people will make eye contact several times before one of them approaches the other. However, do not confuse eye contact with staring. It's not cool to stare at someone until they look in your direction. If you gaze at someone, they will most likely believe you are a creepy psychopath or a possible stalker. When you're in the middle of a conversation with someone, make regular eye contact and retain their gaze for a few seconds longer than usual. This has a significant influence. If you keep talking for more than a few seconds, you'll start to annoy them. Making eye contact will reveal a lot about your buddy. In this case, go with your gut. Whatever you get from staring into their eyes will give you a decent sense of how things are going. If you want your eye contact to have an influence on the guys, keep in mind that men love to be heroes. Slaying dragons is still their favorite fantasy, even in this modern age. So imagine yourself as a delicate medieval damsel in distress, peering at him from beneath your upper lashes, your head slightly inclined towards him. Find a seat to show your admiration if you are the same height as the man, at his eye level. Don't give him a seductive burning glance. It's crossed the line from flirting to seduction, and he'll misinterpret you as a predator. If he suspects you're a predator, he'll either back off and lose interest, or he'll assume you've given him permission to strip you naked as soon as you're alone. Of course, if that's exactly what you're looking for. Guys, instead of looking at her cleavage, look her in the eyes. Genuine interest in what she's saying and her perspective will win you a heart nearly as quickly as a leery long look at her breasts will get you a caustic stare and a swift exit. She adores a man who is curious about her thoughts and feelings. When she says something she is passionate about, the easiest approach to acknowledge her is to make eye contact and gently nod in agreement. She'll take it as a compliment as well as confirmation that you're paying attention to what she's saying. Before and during flirting, make eye contact to intensify the experience and express emotions and feelings between you. Maintain consistent eye contact for as long as you wish to continue flirting. It draws the other person into the situation as well as into you. In a safe environment, such as a coffee shop or supermarket, practice making eye contact with strangers. According to studies, a handsome person who smiles is more attractive to the opposite sex than a plain person who does not smile. Nobody is going to come close to you, no matter how stunning you are, if you don't know how to smile. Now is the time to focus on achieving an award-winning smile. People who smile are thought to be pleasant, cheery, friendly, confident, and fun-loving. It is the ultimate acknowledgement when you smile at someone. I've noticed you, and observing you makes me happy, it adds. What is the message that this sends? Consider that for a moment. What do you think it's like when people smile at you? When you see someone grin, what do you think? Smiling is contagious to everyone except the grumpiest of individuals. And we don't want to flirt with them, do we? How powerful is a stranger's smile? Try it out and see what happens. Smiling can communicate a variety of meanings. It all depends on how emotional your smile is. For the next 24 hours, practice smiling at everyone you come into touch with. You can tell what message they're getting through their reactions to you. We're not recommending that you wander about with a frozen smile on your face. We're talking about putting on your biggest, brightest, most sincere smile you can muster. When you smile at someone you find beautiful, you're sending the message that they're attractive. Guys, if you leer at someone, they'll receive the message loud and clear. And instead of a grin, you can get a scornful stare. The same goes for you, ladies. A smile that shows you respect them, not that you're measuring them up, sends the appropriate message to the boys. This has everything to do with communicating clearly. If you don't naturally grin, you'll have to start practicing till your face hurts. You might not realize how serious smiling is if something made you laugh. Consider that for a moment. How approachable is someone who is perpetually melancholy, moody, and brooding? Consider someone who always has a ready smile for you. It's important to learn to grin and enjoy it. Practice in front of a mirror if necessary. Imagine you've spotted your best friend, someone you haven't seen in a long time. What would your reaction be if that happened? What would your smile look like if they saw you? Consider the cool person or gal you'd like to meet. They're approaching you, smiling and staring at you. Return their smile and experience what it's like. Consider a point in your life when you were at your happiest. Return to that happy place in your thoughts and experience it all over again. Do you have an easy time smiling? How does it make you feel? You're starting to get the hang of how to practice smiling for your flirt toolkit. Go out into the world and smile at everyone you meet, taking risks and being rejected. We asked you to do a letting go of past hurts exercise and adopt a go for it mindset in the previous chapter. If you're holding on to previous baggage, it's probable that you'll bring it into new friendships or relationships, which can truly hold you back. You may flirt with anyone and study their reaction if you have the correct go-for-it mentality. You will not take it personally if things does not work out. You understand that in flirting, there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. Every time you flirt, you can always learn something, even if it's just don't do it again. There is always a danger when we connect or attempt to connect with someone. The risk is that the connection will not be made or that it will be made too far. It's possible that your flirtation will be misinterpreted. Instead of simply having a good time, the person you're flirting with makes the mental leap that you're romantically interested. What to do when someone has the wrong concept is the question. Of course, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, so speaking up sooner rather than later is always preferable. If you're worried that your flirting is being taken too seriously, ask, are we simply having fun, aren't we? Take a look at the cases below to see if there's anything further you can do. Maria was holding a party at her home and was having a great time. She was dancing with Ben, a buddy who had invited him along. Ben was a good dancer, so Maria jumped at the chance to dance with someone who knew his left from his right foot. Maria suddenly realized that Ben was reading more into the dance than she was. This is not an unusual circumstance, given that many people believe dancing is the vertical manifestation of a horizontal yearning. Maria asked the question in a calm and authoritative manner, looking Ben in the eyes. Ben swallowed hard, but understood the message loud and clear. The dancing was now just for fun, not for sex. Maria dodged a drunken grope later in the evening by calling the score early in the piece. Chris is meticulous in his attention to detail. He met Sasha at a book launch, and the two of them began taunting one another about their reading choices. Chris and Sasha exchanged business cards and promised to meet up again in a few weeks, which they did. They realized they loved each other's company again at the coffee shop, and there was evident chemistry between them. After the coffee, Chris sent Sasha an SMS expressing his gratitude for their time together. After a series of amorous SMS messages back and forth, they agreed to meet up for drinks later in the week. Chris and Sasha started playing the 20 questions game in a trendy metropolitan bar. You ask a question, I ask a question. Chris learned that Sasha had only recently divorced her spouse and was still coping with some troubles. I get the idea. What you truly need right now is a friend, not a lover, Chris stated to Sasha, who was sensitive enough to realize she wasn't ready for a new relationship. Sasha exhaled a sigh of relief. Chris was entertaining, but she knew he was correct. She wasn't ready to begin a new relationship just yet. Chris and Sasha are still good friends and flirt with each other on the basis that they are both having a good time. This would have been unlikely if Chris hadn't been explicit from the start about his desire to keep the flirtation and friendship just for fun. Great flirting provides a light, enjoyable, and engaging energy flow that is never overbearing, tardy, or overly eager. Flirts who are successful don't appear to be trying too hard to impress, and they are never pushy, annoying, or noisy. If you're too confident at flirting, you can end up acting for an audience instead of flirting with someone. If this happens, your focus has changed away from the person with whom you're flirting and toward yourself. As your flirting skills improve, you'll see the importance of being subtle. You don't have to go overboard with your flirting. Remember, when flirting becomes blatant, you've crossed the line and are engaging in seduction. Flirting in the office and at work. In business, flirting is beneficial. It can help you get past some bumps on the road and make your journey through the corporate jungle more enjoyable. It can also put you in direct contact with those who need to know who you are. To get past the gatekeepers and PAS and to the decision makers, good salespeople flirt with them. Keeping flirting lighthearted, humorous, and fun can spell the difference between success and tragedy. You'll be able to brighten up any scenario at work as a professional flirt. You pay someone a compliment when you flirt with them, and compliments can oil the wheels of industry. The office is undoubtedly a place where you should keep your flirting quiet, and remember that less is more. At work, avoid making any suggestive statements that go beyond flirting unless the other person gives you a lot of extremely unambiguous green light signs. There are limitations. In terms of workplace sexual harassment, no employee should have to put up with vulgar comments, invasions of personal space, or touching as part of their daily routine. Work becomes monotonous and unproductive if you are reluctant to give a compliment or have a little fun. Remembering that the goal of flirting is to make the other person feel good will help you find a happy balance. Will this make them feel happy? Is an excellent question to ask yourself while using this rule to your communications. If the answer is yes, you can't go wrong. It's obvious that if you want to be successful in business, you need to get along with people, and certain people are essential in helping you achieve your goals. Your business life will thrive if you flirt with these essential folks. Who makes your day run more smoothly? Is it your secretary, the mailroom clerk, your boss, or a client? Have you made it a goal to make them happy and like you? What options do you have? Everything we discuss in this content is the basic answer. Take notice of them, put yourself in their shoes, commend them, be a little naughty. But remember, work is where you cross the line at your peril. What's the best place to flirt? You'll want to practice your flirting skills as you get a better understanding of them. Then there's the question of but where? It's nearly everywhere. Why wouldn't you utilize flirting to make both you and the other person happy? Here are a few suggestions to get you started. Public transportation is available. Because standing or sitting next to strangers is unavoidable, you'll have an almost limitless supply of individuals to flirt with. There is a ferry that travels from Manly to the city in Sydney, which Michael takes. While on board, he never misses an opportunity to flirt. Michael has met 2 girlfriends by simply saying hello on the ferry at the time of riding. Workshops. Have you visited your local library or community center recently? There's certainly an information board somewhere near reception with pamphlets for every type of course imaginable, from yoga to yashmak making. Latin dancing is hot right now, but you might choose to focus on film enjoyment. Workshops are a terrific opportunity to meet like-minded people, and you can use these opportunities to flirt with them, whatever your taste. Coffee houses. Coffee shops are people-watching temples, and there's no better place to hone your nonverbal interaction skills than while drinking a latte. Because there are typically insufficient seats on public transportation, this is an opportunity to say, "Excuse me, may I share your table? Thank you so much, by the way, my name is. Therapeutic shopping. Shopkeepers are frequently open to a flirty dialogue. They may be bored due to a lack of clients, or they may be accustomed to customers being rude or in a hurry. Choose a time when the helper is not overworked and have a good time. Guys, you may go to a women's clothing store and tell the salesperson you're buying for your sister. Go to a high-tech store and have a good time claiming to know how to turn a floppy disk into a hard drive. For double entendres, see Chapter 7. Nights for singles. Look for singles nights in your local paper. Yes, they might be a bit of a cattle market, but if you go with the purpose of utilizing the evening to hone your talents, you can actually have a great time. Christina, a lovely but reserved young lady, informed us that she recently attended a major singles event with the purpose of simply saying hi to 10 men. It didn't matter if they said hi to her first. When her task was completed, she left, with a considerably better level of self-assurance than when she arrived. Unusual suggestions. Hugh Grant's character in the film about a boy claims to have a son in order to attend single parents groups in the hopes of finding a single mother. Then there was the caller who said he went to weight loss meetings because he felt the women would be easier to talk to and more likely to agree to go out with him. We know you're capable of more. Send us an email and tell us how and where you flirted, as well as what occurred. We're excited to hear your story. Points to remember. Timing is everything. Right time, right action, perfect place. Make eye contact. Great flirts know when to flirt and when not to flirt. Set boundaries and be aware of other people's boundaries by smiling, smiling, smiling. Business flirting can open opportunities and make the workplace more enjoyable. 5. Take the initiative. Have you ever met someone with whom you immediately clicked? You may have only just met them, yet you immediately felt at ease, as if you had known them for years. Most of the time, this is referred to as serendipity. What if you figured out how to make this instant connection? The capacity to create rapport and be in step with someone else is one of the most powerful flirting tools. Flirting is all about being able to build a trusting and emotional connection with someone right away. You'll need the flirting attitudes of taking notice and enjoying others to get in step quickly. When you have a take-note mentality, you can look at someone and truly observe them without passing judgment. When you do this, you'll discover that you naturally fall into step. Getting in step requires a variety of factors. Physically like each other, speaking in a similar manner, and verbally matching their interests. Physically resembling. Have you ever seen two people who are clearly in love in a restaurant? How did you figure out they were there? Was it because their bodies were a perfect reflection of one another? This is the clearest indication that two people get along. Another example is two excellent friends standing at a bar discussing. If one is forward with his left leg, the other will be front with his right leg. If one is on the bar with his right elbow, the other will be on the bar with his left. Mirroring is simple because it is instinctive. Simply adopt the other person's stance, first with the head, then the body, then the arms and legs. Change your breathing to the same depth and frequency as theirs if you really want to connect. Exercising mirroring. Invite a friend to sit with you for 5 minutes and talk about anything they're interested in or their most recent vacation. Observe and replicate how they hold their heads, their body posture, and where their arms and legs are placed as they speak. When you've transformed into a mirror of their body, pay attention to where they're breathing. Do you think it's in your upper, middle, or lower chest? How quick is it? Now repeat the process. Be fully present, in the moment, and attentive to all your friend has to say. Accept anything they say without question, as if it were the most significant information you've ever heard. Count silently to 5 and alter your posture to imitate your friends if they shift posture or move during the workout. After 5 minutes, come to a halt and inquire what your friend's experience of being mirrored by you. It was probably enjoyable. If you want to see what occurs when you don't have rapport, repeat the activity, but this time let your attention wander rather than mimicking them. Instead, use a variety of gestures and postures. They'll struggle to speak without stumbling and will automatically try to attract your attention or simply give up. When blatantly mirroring someone isn't appropriate, a more subtle method is to match them. If someone crosses their mirroring exercise, this is an example of matching. Invite a friend to sit with you for 5 minutes and talk about anything they're interested in or their most recent vacation. Observe and replicate how they hold their heads, their body posture, and where their arms and legs are placed as they speak. When you've transformed into a mirror of their body, pay attention to where they're breathing. Do you think it's in your upper, middle, or lower chest? How quick is it? Now repeat the process. Be fully present, in the moment, and attentive to all your friend has to say. Accept anything they say without question, as if it were the most significant information you've ever heard. Count silently to 5 and alter your posture to imitate your friends if they shift posture or move during the workout. After 5 minutes, come to a halt and inquire what your friend's experience of being mirrored by you. It was probably enjoyable. If you want to see what occurs when you don't have rapport, repeat the activity, but this time let your attention wander rather than mimicking them. Instead, use a variety of gestures and postures. They'll struggle to speak without stumbling and will automatically try to attract your attention or simply give up. You cross your legs and cross your arms. You tap your foot at the same tempo as they tap a pen. When you're seated in a bar or cafe, you can see how effective this strategy is. Someone will be doing something rhythmic, such as the example above. So match the beat with another part of your body. You'll notice the individual become aware of you if you keep an eye on them out of the corner of your eye. Isn't that amazing? You can acquire feedback on how you're performing by developing an acute awareness of nonverbal signs like breathing and body posture. Do they think you're attractive? Is your message getting through? Do you need to alter your communication style? You'll study the 21 nonverbal signs that are special to flirting later in this audio. Using the same communication style, people have diverse preferences for how they get information and how they share it. Have you ever had a television with a rabbit ears antenna? Remember how you had to juggle your rabbit ears to get a good signal? An excellent flirt picks up on the other person's signal and communicates with them. There are 3 basic communication modes to be mindful of: lookers, listeners, and feelers. Those who are watching. Lookers are also known as visual people since they process information in pictures. Everyone does it to some level, but these people do it more frequently and intensely. Their eye movements, words, and clothing can all be used to identify a visual. Lookers have a constant stream of images flowing through their heads, and you may see them gazing up frequently while talking to view or access these images. Light moves at a very high pace, as we all know, and this is often the speed at which observers communicate. They speak quickly and frequently in high tones, are easily bored, and frequently shift the subject. If you're not a visual person, buckle up and take a ride. Another telltale indicator you're flirting with a visual person is their clothing choice. Bright and colorful is a must because they care about their look. Lookers' words are descriptive and relevant to the mental imagery they are creating. I see what you're getting at. That appears to be clear. Could you show me? It's crucial to mimic a looker's speed, tone, and way of speech when conversing with them. The audience. Auditory listeners are sensitive to sound. It's not only what you say, but how you say it that matters to them more than anything else. Listeners speak more slowly than lookers, and you can hear more rhythm or variety in their tone if you pay attention. Because they only have one channel to interact with, sound, the majority of radio announcers have a strong auditory preference. Listeners breathe more deeply in the mid-chest, which can make them appear more solid in the torso than visuals, who breathe rapidly in the upper chest. When you watch someone with a strong auditory preference process information, you'll notice that their eyes move from side to side. Listeners enjoy using language and frequently have a large vocabulary. They'll say things like, "That sounds right, rings a bell, I'm paying attention to what you're saying, tell me about it." To connect with your audience, get in tune and respond in rhythm. The sense organs. These folks are known as feelers since they are aware of their emotions. This isn't to imply that lookers and listeners aren't, but feelers must take in information and process it both mentally and physically. Because this process takes time, feelers, also known as kinesthetics, speak more slowly than the other 2 communication modes. As they go inside to think and feel, feelers breathe slowly and deeply, and their eyes look down. Feelers want to get a grip on things, wrap my head around it, reconnect with what matters, and walk through the process. Slower if you want to bond with a feeler, but this isn't your natural manner. The key is to shift your breathing to your belly button. You'll find it much simpler to pace once you've done so. Feelers frequently employ more gestures than other styles, so you can mimic them as well. When interacting with someone, it's helpful to keep an eye on their eyes. The eyes are hardwired to the brain, and they move according to whether the individual is creating mental images, focusing on sounds, or connecting with their feelings. Do you like to look, listen, or feel? Learning how to create rapport is a lot of fun. You'll acquire a better sense of how to create rapport if you practice these exercises. All of the responses that pertain to you should be circled. 1. I am drawn to people because of a. How they appear. B. How they speak. And C. How they move. 2. When I'm talking to someone, I A. Watch what they're saying. B. Listen to what they're saying. And C. Acquire a sense of what they're saying. 3. When I'm lost, I A. Consult a map. B. Seek instructions. And C. Trust my instincts. 4. I prefer to A. Go to the movies, watch TV, or watch a video. B. Attend a performance, listen to music, or listen to the radio. and C. Participate in sports or do something physical. 5. When I have a lot of things to do, I A. Make a list or visualize myself completing them. B. Remind myself to do them. And C. Feel anxious until I do them. 6. I prefer books or publications that contain a lot of photos. B. Fantastic content. And C. Practical and how-to information. 7. I go to areas where A. I can observe people. B. There is music, conversation, or silence. And C. There are activities to participate in. 8. When I have an issue, I A. Look for solutions. B. Discuss about ideas. And C. Ruminate on it until it feels right. 9. It is simpler for me to A. Have someone teach me how to do something. B. Have someone explain what to do. Or C. Dive in and do it myself when learning anything new. Count how many A, B, and C responses there are. A looker, B listener, C feeler. Make a bar graph of your results now. After completing this task, it should be clear which method of communication you favor. You'll have an easier time flirting with folks who share your tastes. Knowing what you know today, you can build the flexibility to flirt with people who don't share your taste. What matters is what the other person hears, not what you say. Rapport is achieved when you use all channels of communication, such as body language, breathing, facial expressions, and voice, to match the other person's communication preferences, ensuring that your message is clearly heard, understood, and accepted. Make a bar graph of your results now. Here's one of ours in action. You'll become more conscious and skilled at tuning in with other people as you master flirting, since you'll be able to adjust your manner to click with anyone you desire. Language is the means by which you express your thoughts and feelings. Flirts who are good listeners are good flirts, mirroring their interests verbally. When you meet someone who displays real interest in you and wants to know about you, your ideas and opinions on a variety of topics, it's irresistible. It's difficult not to be pulled to someone who truly listens to you and encourages you to share your personal experience. Emily, one of our clients, meets a lot of people through her employment at a fancy hospital and her social life. She is an excellent socializer who enjoys chatting, but she is disturbed by how often people talk about themselves and show no interest in one another. It's like Bette Midler's remark in the movie Beaches, when she says, "That's enough about me. What about you?" After a long speech, "What are your thoughts on me?" Emily had a natural talent for listening, which meant she spent a lot of her time in this function. She had the opportunity to meet and connect with people in the same business from all across the country at a work-related seminar. She had never met most of these folks before and was looking forward to exchanging ideas and forging new connections. She was sat next to Jess on the first day of the session. Jess was chatty and pleasant, just like Emily, and the two were happily conversing within a minute of sitting down. At the session, as well as during tea breaks and lunch, Emily and Jess spent the entire day together. At the conclusion of the day, Emily suggested they meet for breakfast before the lecture the next morning. Emily returned home and told her boyfriend what a wonderful day she had had and how she had made a new acquaintance with whom she shared many interests. Emily was astonished to learn that she knew almost little about Jess when her boyfriend inquired about her new buddy. Despite the fact that the two women had spent the majority of their time together, Jess had spent the day inquiring about Emily. Emily had talked about herself, her career, and her beliefs, unaccustomed to this position and charmed by the pleasure of it. Emily's most clear impression of the day, though, was of what a wonderful person Jess was. Remember that people enjoy talking about themselves and sharing their tales when you're flirting. For example, suppose you've just returned from a fantastic vacation and someone asks, "How was your trip?" They interrupt you before you get past the part about arriving at the hotel, saying, "Oh, when we stayed there a few years ago," and then proceed to tell you about their trip as you sit open-mouthed. People, as previously stated, enjoy talking about themselves. If you're flirting to impress and ask a question, wait for the other person to finish answering and think about what they said before responding. Even then, avoid making the other person's story or point seem little in comparison to your own. Remember that a good flirt enjoys asking open-ended inquiries that need more than a yes or no response. Learning to listen well is an important element of being a successful flirt, whether on a first date or over coffee with a coworker. Make it a practice to engage the other person and listen intently to what they have to say. Beyond the charming impression of your interest, this behavior has a benefit. The person on the other side of the table is a river of information into which you can cast your line and catch a lot of fantastic flirting possibilities. Learn to listen and see things from another person's perspective in order to figure out what's important to them. You can establish a strong bond with that person by doing so. It's been said that you can't truly understand a man until you've walked in his shoes for a month. You can at least step into someone else's shoes if you can't walk in their shoes. Even if you don't think they're a good fit, you'll have learned a little more about them and be able to form a better bond with them. Some people are born empathic, and they care about other people's feelings and perspectives. As a result, they are excellent people. Others enjoy spending time with them and feel good in their company. Therefore, they tend to have a large number of friends. Empathetic persons must establish some limits. They fear others taking advantage of their selflessness if they don't have boundaries. Then there are those that are highly self-centered and either indifferent to or unconcerned about other people's feelings or perspectives. Self-centeredness is not a part of the flirting mentality. You must concentrate on the other person rather than oneself. Your benefits in flirting come after you have made someone else happy. Changing locations. This practice is designed to help you build empathy and understanding for others while staying within your limits. These are abilities that will come in handy in flirting, friendships, and commercial dealings. This is a workout that you may do alone or with a friend. 3 chairs are required, 2 facing each other and 1 off to one side. Place yourself in one of the chairs, facing each other, first position, and your spouse in the opposite chair, second position. Imagine someone you know sitting in second position if you're doing this alone. You view the person in second position via your eyes when you are in first position. You are aware of them through your 5 senses. You assess them using your filters. This is a self-centered approach of relating to others. You would see what they see, feel what they feel, and so on if you were in second position. Your mind is adaptable enough to imagine what it's like to be in the second position. You can picture what it's like to be that person, what they're thinking, how they see the world. Try it for a few minutes and you'll be surprised at the results. For added effect, get up from your chair and move to the other chair, imagining yourself stepping into the other person's attitude. We know it sounds strange, but give it a shot and see what happens. It is not always easy or desirable to shift to the second position in everyday conversations. However, you can shift your awareness to the third position, the chair off to the side. You will be aware of yourself and your communication style, as well as the other person in this position. As a result, you can consider their feelings as well. You can see yourself as well as the other person at the same time. Notice how your awareness shifts when you try the third position. The attitude of the third position is similar to the peripheral vision exercise you will do in Chapter 5. The more you practice this, the more you'll find yourself combining the 2 methods. You'll be surprised at how much you learn about someone and how much they feel connected to you. People enjoy discussing their hobbies, beliefs, and values. You'll be able to flirt in a way that shows you've not only listened to them, but also heard and understood what they said if you encourage them to talk about what's important to them and actively listen. To truly get someone is the highest compliment you can pay them. Babies cry for it, and men will die for it, according to legend. What exactly is it? Recognition. Recognizing a person requires using all of your senses while listening. People will open up to you if you flirt and make a connection. Once you've moved past the superficial and mundane topics, such as "Gee, isn't it busy in here?" you can get up from your chair and move to the other chair, imagining yourself stepping into the other person's attitude. We know it sounds strange, but give it a shot and see what happens. It is not always easy or desirable to shift to the second position in everyday conversations. However, you can shift your awareness to the third position, the chair off to the side. You will be aware of yourself and your communication style, as well as the other person in this position. As a result, you can consider their feelings as well. You can see yourself as well as the other person at the same time. Notice how your awareness shifts when you try the third position. The attitude of the third position is similar to the peripheral vision exercise you will do in Chapter 5. The more you practice this, the more you'll find yourself combining the 2 methods. You'll be surprised at how much you learn about someone and how much they feel connected to you. How's the weather been lately? Will help you learn about the person's beliefs and values. Beliefs and values are the mental constructs that shape who we are. Your beliefs are thoughts or ideas that you have repeatedly confirmed to yourself. Most of your beliefs were formed between the ages of 2 and 7, and they continue to influence your behavior today. This is why it is critical to get to know oneself. When we no longer find our beliefs about the world and ourselves useful, we must change them. For example, you may not have thought you were a good flirt, but now that you see how much fun it is, you'll be willing to give it a try. When flirting, it's important to remember not to challenge someone's beliefs. People are emotional when it comes to deeply held beliefs. The great flirter will be fascinated by those beliefs and how they influence the other person's behavior. This is due to the fact that a flirt is a student of human nature, always interested in what makes people tick. Your values are what excite you, inspire you, and connect you to who you are. What you value is what attracts and motivates you. Say nothing while the other person is speaking. Don't interrupt, pause before responding. It lets the other person know they have been heard. Use the exact words and phrases the person has used back to them. Get the spirit of what is being said, or get confirmation by saying, "Let me make sure I understand you." Reflect back to the other person by using phrases like "let me get the picture," "it sounds like," or "I get the feeling." The various types of responses by lookers, listeners, and feelers. Prompt the person to say more or direct the conversation by saying things like "really," "tell me more," or "I want to hear more about." Important points. Get in sync and establish rapport. Determine whether you are a looker, a listener, or a feeler. Determine whether the other person is a looker, a listener, or a feeler. Demonstrate an interest in the other person. Avoid talking about yourself too much. Consider things from the perspective of another person. 6 observations. Members of the animal kingdom have courted and flirted using body language since time started and creatures walked, crawled, climbed, or slithered upon this earth. The goal of animal flirting was to find a mate and reproduce. We, on the other hand, get to enjoy flirting just for the sake of it, without it needing to lead to anything more than a few chuckles and a lot of wonderful sensations. Because it is often unconscious, body language, or nonverbal communication, is a potent force in the flirting game. We are always communicating with one another, even when we aren't speaking. So it's critical to be mindful of the messages we're delivering. Great flirts pay attention to people's body language and signals. When you're chatting to someone, how frequently do you find yourself running your hand through your hair? Check your sentiments the next time you do it. There's a good probability someone around has piqued your interest. Guys frequently lean back in their chairs and run a casual hand through their hair. You'll be able to see the item of their interest if you look in the direction their head is tilted. If it's pointing in the direction of a mirror, it's time to move on. Girls have a number of different hairstyles. They run their hands through their hair, wind it over their fingers, flip it, and even pull their hair near to their faces to evaluate its condition. The problem is that while most of these preening movements indicate attention, some can also indicate boredom. We'll go through signals in greater depth later. Another approach to bring attention to oneself is to play with your attire, but the signals may get lost in the translation. A lady altering her clothes is commonly interpreted as a sign of interest, but it can also indicate that she feels self-conscious or uneasy. Of course, if she hops up on a stool, crosses her legs, and lifts the hem of her skirt just a smidge on, it's virtually a foregone conclusion that she finds you appealing. If he's wearing a long-sleeved shirt, the guy equivalent is to push or roll his sleeves up. You know you're making him hot when he loosens his tie at the same moment. Reams have been published about body language since Desmond Morris's The Naked Ape. Our goal here isn't to regurgitate what has already been discussed extensively. Instead, we'll focus on the body language and signs associated with flirting. We'll let you know what to look out for and what tactics you may use to figure out who is flirting. We'll show you how to decipher and deliver body language cues. When you tap into this nonverbal channel, it'll be like switching from a little TV screen to a plasma screen in terms of how much richer your communication will be. Exercising your peripheral vision. Peripheral vision is something to work on when observing nonverbals. We can look at objects from 2 perspectives: focused, up close, and wide angle. You can take in a lot more information if you relax your focus. This also allows you to watch without having to look at the screen. Concentrate your gaze on a location about 3 meters up on a 5-meter away wall. Continue to perceive that spot, but become more aware of what's going on around it. Increase the amount of information you can perceive at the very borders of your eyesight gradually. Slowly drop your sight to the horizontal while keeping your view extended. Take note of how much more you can see now. When you use this strategy to focus your attention when entering social situations, you will be able to take in a lot of information without appearing stressed or intense. Developing the ability to read people. When the eyes say one thing and the tongue says another, a skilled man relies on the first language. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a poet who lived in the United States. The first guideline to remember when understanding body language is that context is essential. Someone crossing their arms could be defensive, but they could also be cold or have a curry stain on their shirt. Each person has their own nonverbals, which have different meanings depending on their culture and upbringing. It's impossible to understand a single gesture, shift in proximity, gaze, or movement on its own or out of context. The key is to keep an eye out for clusters of signals. As previously said, the majority of your body language interpretation is unconscious. While you have a feel of what someone is saying, you don't give the messages any thought. Rather than a careful translation of each signal, you have a general sensation. With a little more knowledge, you'll be better at picking up signals and deciphering communications. You'll become a skilled observer and people watcher as you learn and apply these techniques, and your intuition will grow even stronger. Observing the body language of others. Start paying attention to other people's body language. Keep a notebook handy and jot down any nonverbal signals, cues, or messages you notice in various situations and among various groups of individuals. The more you observe people's body language in various scenarios, the more your interpretation of nonverbal messages will improve. Coworkers, observe how their body language shifts when the boss is there. Friends, pay attention to their body language when you're with an established group of friends versus when a new person they like joins the group. Family, observe how their body language reflects their moods because you know them better. What does a couple's body language reveal about their relationship? Couples who are fighting should pay attention to the messages their bodies are sending. Body language is used by advertisers to sell their products. Simply go through the pages of any magazine to see how they are accomplishing this. What is this signaling? You might wonder. Bridging the gap. Have you ever had someone into your personal space without your permission? Those people who stand too close and don't seem to understand that personal space exists. We all have different ideas about what is too close, and our perceptions fluctuate based on how we are feeling or the messages we perceive in various settings and among various groups of people. The more you observe people's body language in various scenarios, the more your interpretation of nonverbal messages will improve. Coworkers, observe how their body language shifts when the boss is there. Friends, pay attention to their body language when you're with an established group of friends versus when a new person they like joins the group. Family members, observe how their body language reflects their moods because you know them better. Couples in love, what does their body language indicate about how they are relating? Couples who are fighting should pay attention to the messages their bodies are sending. Body language is used by advertisers to sell their products. Simply go through the pages of any magazine to see how they are accomplishing this. Consider the person standing nearby and ask yourself, what is this signaling? The fact is that the more you like someone, the closer you'll allow them to get. As a result, the key to flirting is to close the distance in a way that makes them feel at ease. This necessitates a decent radar, the capacity to detect nonverbals, as well as a playful curiosity to explore how far you can push yourself. According to Edward T. Hall, an expert on perception and use of space, the Australians, English, and Americans all have 4 separate personal space zones. The public zone begins at roughly 4 meters and extends until it reaches the limit of vision. The social zone is 1 to 4 meters wide. The personal zone measures 60 centimeters to 1.5 meters in length. From 0, touching to 60 centimeters is the intimate zone. As a result, proximity or space has significance. And when someone enters our personal bubble, we can feel uneasy, anxious, or resentful, even if we aren't conscious of the reason. Culture and circumstance have a big impact on these zones. Elevators and public transportation are examples of factors that cause zone variances. Most people avoid eye contact in these places to cope with the loss of personal space. You'll be thought unusual if you grin and gaze at people in a lift or on public transportation, unless, of course, you know how to flirt well, in which case it can be a lot of fun. When flirting with someone, our recommendation is to take your time and start at the edge of their personal zone, approximately 1.5 meters away with your body angled away from them at a 45-degree angle. The angled body stance has the advantage of being less menacing and allowing you to view more with your peripheral vision. You can interpret their proximity to you as a signal. If they don't approach you, wait until you've piqued their attention and made them feel at ease before approaching them. Keep a check on their eyes. If they narrow, it means they are feeling intimidated, and you should back off. The narrowing of the eyes, unlike other signals, is global rather than cultural, and it transmits a distinct message on its own. When you've established connection with someone and are having fun flirting, consider moving or swaying back slightly. If things are going as smoothly as you think they are, the other person will close the gap instinctively. Personal space is important. Here's a fun and eye-opening practice to attempt with a group of friends the next time you're together. Standing 5 meters apart, 2 persons should look each other in the eyes. They then cautiously approach each other, 1 step at a time. As you do this, pay attention to how it feels as you go closer. Are you at ease? When individuals approach closer, what issues do you have to deal with? Does it feel different depending on who you're with? A word on laughter. During this practice, some people burst out laughing. Laughter is a great method to relieve stress. Consider what generated the tension if you or your partner laughs. The body expresses itself. Flirting is a condition of mind and body for exceptional flirts like our friend Anthony. He has brought the unconscious to consciousness, fine-tuned his abilities, and reinserted them into his unconscious mind, making them a part of who he is. It's all in his body language, gestures, and the way he glides around a room or perches on a chair arm. He no longer considers his body language because he trusts his body to send the appropriate signal. Anthony has a flirtatious relationship with the world around him. His charisma is captivating, despite the fact that he is in his 40s, slender, and not particularly attractive. In fact, his looks are those that only a mother could love. It's like watching a celebrity enter a throng when he walks into a party. He makes a personal connection with everyone there by acknowledging them, even if it's just with a glance or a tilt of his head. Anthony has the capacity to make everyone in the room feel as if they are the most important person there. When he speaks to you, his movements are flowing and slow, and he often appears to melt towards you. When you watch Anthony, you'll see that his body language sends out a warm, sensual message, so it's no surprise that women fall for him and men seek him out as a friend. He's made flirting's body language a natural part of his everyday routine. Our bodies send out messages all the time, and we frequently don't realize we're communicating far more than we realize. The key is to pay attention to what your body is telling. You can start communicating non-verbally with intent once you're conscious. In her 1985 study Nonverbal Courtship Patterns in Women, Dr. Monica Moore, a professor of behavioral and social sciences at Webster University in Missouri, cataloged 52 nonverbal messages employed by women in social contexts. According to her findings, the more signals a woman emits, the more likely she is to receive a reaction from men. She also discovered that women who used a range of signals rather than repeating the same signal repeatedly received more response. During his research, Dr. Moore observed that men did not respond to a woman until they had received a number of signals from her. Men are also more inclined to wait for a woman's initial indication before approaching her without some prodding. This suggests that in the arena of flirtation, women may initiate through nonverbal communication. There are 21 nonverbal flirting signals out of the 52 identified by Dr. Moore that, in our experience, will make you an adept nonverbal flirt. These nonverbal flirting signals are applicable to both men and women. There are 21 different methods to flirt with your body. 1. The examination. The all-encompassing look is barely a strategy because it occurs so frequently early in the process. It allows the glancer to take a thorough look around the room, party, bar to see whether anyone is worth flirting with. It's essentially a talent inventory, because if no one piques your interest, you might as well spend the time with your buddies. During the scan, no eye contact is established with any one person. The scan takes only 5 to 10 seconds to complete. It's at this point that your peripheral vision will come in handy. 2. Good morning, good morning. When you've seen someone worth flirting with, save this quick darting glance. This look is intended at a specific person and consists of looking, then rapidly turning away. It's usually done 3 times in a row in bouts with an average of 3 gazes per bout. How many fights are there? That depends on how long it takes for the object of your desire to recognize you and give you the go-ahead. 3. Close the door and lock it. Where the rubber meets the road and the flirtation begins is with this concentrated look. You make extended eye contact, more than 3 seconds, and repeat this glance multiple times over a period of minutes or until they make the initial approach if you suspect mutual interest. How often have you heard someone say, "They caught my eye," while describing how they met? Prolonged eye contact is frequently the first true connection between two people. People are drawn together by the intrigue of knowing what lies behind the look. 4. Laughter. The smile is the most common and well-known nonverbal cue. A smile is non-committal, but it has a lot of power. When you make eye contact with men or women, smile. It doesn't have to be a preamble to flirting, but it's a good place to start. Smiling recognizes that you have seen someone, even if you have no intention of getting to know them well. Smiling at someone makes them feel special. And since flirting is all about making someone feel special, smiling has an impact on how you speak. When selling over the phone, some salespeople are taught to have a mirror on their desk so they can see themselves smiling while on the phone. 5. Eyebrow flash. Hold someone's gaze for a few seconds longer than usual once you've gotten their attention by creating eye contact. Give them the eyebrow flash if you feel inspired to give them a signal they can't miss. For a few seconds, raise both of your eyebrows exaggeratedly, no longer, or you'll appear like Groucho Marx. It's guaranteed to garner you a response when combined with eye contact and a grin, with the noteworthy exception of Hong Kong, where it is considered the height of rudeness. The eyebrow flash is another ubiquitous nonverbal. 6. Take a good look at me. Have you ever noticed a girl walking past you while purportedly on her way somewhere? She was flirting if she was raising her head, swaying her hips, holding in her tummy, and arching her back so her breasts were thrust out. You were the one she was parading for if she made eye contact with you. You wasted the chance to flirt with her if you let her walk by without making any indication that you were interested. Did you do anything when that cool guy grinned at you as he walked past with his shoulders squared, stomach held in, hands in pockets, and crotch thrust forward? How much more obnoxious would you like him to be? His procession was a slew of nonverbal clues shouting, "Notice me, I've observed you, and I like what I see." Putting oneself on show when parading through a flirt target is all about being noticed while having a backup plan, like as the bar or the bathroom, in case your parade fails to draw your target. Remember, a great flirt will never do something they can't gracefully back out of. 7. Make an effort. Before approaching someone, you might want to check for signs that they would welcome you inside their private space. If you're not sure if you've picked up the proper signs, consider using a combination of nonverbal cues to see if you get a response. A returning smile could be a good indicator. So you've picked up on the signals and summoned the guts to approach someone you'd like to flirt with. This is arguably the most straightforward nonverbal signal. Yet you can't just stand there a meter or two away and say nothing. Just don't squander it with a stale, sleazy pickup line. If you've taken the time to approach them, say something basic like, "Hi, my name is," or simply "Hello." 8. Please come over. Approaching someone in this manner is the polar opposite of approaching someone. Rather than approaching them, you invite them to join you. This can be as evident as sweeping an open palm over a vacant chair, or as subtle and ambiguous as curling the fingers with the hand by the side. When walking past someone, this finger curl can be used. They're not sure if the signal was intended for them, so they'll start watching you to see if it was, leaving the door open for you to grin and break the ice. 9. A solo dance. This is one for the ladies. Are you hoping for that guy in the corner to invite you to dance? He's smiling and gazing your way, but he's been doing it for 10 minutes and still hasn't made his way over. Start moving your body in sync to the music if you truly want to dance. Sway to the music and maintain eye contact regardless of whether you're sitting or standing. Try signaling him to come over if he doesn't receive the message. If this doesn't work, you may have no choice but to take matters into your own hands and approach him, or you may end up dancing in your seat all night. 10. Toss, tilt, and guffaw. When combined with flirty laughing, head tossing is fantastic. Imagine the scene. They say something vaguely amusing, and you laugh out loud. Boy, do they think they're funnier than Jerry Seinfeld. Tilting the head to one side is an excellent approach to see if the other person is interested in you. Look to check if they're doing the same thing as you and tilting their head in the same direction. If they bend their head even slightly in your direction, they are responding positively to you, and the message is clear. They appreciate your presence and want to build the bond. 11. Flip your hair. This one is a perennial favorite of long, or, come to think of it, short-haired gals and Hugh Grant impersonators with hair that flops in their eyes. This technique isn't limited to pulling hair out of your face. It can also be a slow, sensual hand movement that makes you want to run your hands through their hair. Or it may be a playful and fun little flip. In any case, it's one of the most common nonverbal flirting cues. Some people, such as our friend Tom, are habitual hair flippers. Tom flips his hair 3 times every minute on average. Yes, we counted them one day while watching him flirt. Sure, his hair flops in his face, and he does resemble Hugh Grant in appearance. But even if he isn't entirely aware of it, Tom uses the hair flip to flirt to great advantage. 12. Take a look at how vulnerable I am. It's like a cat rolling over and revealing its belly when you show your neck or the inside of your wrist to someone you don't know or have just met. It can indicate a readiness to put your neck or wrist in the hands of the person to whom you are gifting it. Few cats put themselves in this situation unless they have reason to believe that the people they are exposing themselves to are trustworthy. Unfortunately, we humans are significantly more dumb when it comes to flirting. But what the hell? Reveal a little neck or wrist, and if you really want to grab their attention, caress your neck with your fingers. 13. There was a whisper. While not strictly nonverbal, the body movements required for whispering can be utilized to reduce personal space and come up close and personal. You don't want to lean in close and whisper in their ear just yet. Then lower your voice and speak softly to encourage them to lean in closer to hear what you're saying. 14. Touching things with your hands. Caressing objects. At a party, Steve met a girl with whom he couldn't take his gaze away. She drew his attention with a hey, hello glance and then began tracing her finger around the rim of her wine glass. She began to caress the stem of her wine glass up and down with her index and thumb just as he became accustomed to the effect. She had him in the palm of her hand by the time he got to talk to her. Stroking, fondling, or caressing any object is what the object caress is all about. It doesn't have to be sexually provocative. Playing with an object while making eye contact with someone is a strong nonverbal flirting signal in any case. The brush is number 15. This ostensibly unintentional stroking of body parts isn't for the faint of heart. It's sometimes unintentional, yes, but it's more often than not done with deliberate aim. It's frequently employed in confined spaces where there's not a lot of room to move since it appears to be an accident, despite the fact that we know otherwise. How many times have you brushed past someone in a crowded bar while trying to get a drink? If it's not someone with whom you want to flirt, move on fast. If someone has caught your eye, on the other hand, you'll linger a little longer, keeping close enough for either of you to make a comment or start a conversation. Arm to arm, leg to leg, or torso to arm contact is common. The bravest will attempt the breast or pelvic brush. The brush's instigator will usually respond with a sly apologies from a guy or a giggle and blush combination from a girl. 16. The slim. When we talked about closing the space, we mentioned leaning forward and back. When people are seated near to each other at a dinner party, the lean is most obvious. People who are flirting will lean towards each other. Leaning modifies the amount of interpersonal space and can be used to determine whether or not someone is interested. If you lean in and want to know if it's okay with them, lean back so they can close the distance between you and them. They'll be striving to keep in close proximity unknowingly. 17. The touch. Unlike the brush, the touch is not haphazard and should not be misconstrued as such. You put your hand on the other person's arm, shoulder, knee, thigh, etc. at some time. You use contact to emphasize a point or as a symbol of affection. But in actuality, you've seen the opportunity to touch or hold the attention of someone you like. Sam, for example, has a manner of patting a female on the elbow that gives her the impression that she has his full attention, even if their conversation is interrupted by a third party. Sam wraps his hand over his companion's elbow before acknowledging the other person. While he is conversing with the third person, he ties her to him and their conversation in this way. Returning to their talk, the girl was engaged by the touch of the elbow, and she believes the connection has not been broken. 18. Foot to foot, knee to knee, or thigh to thigh contact. The talk is going well. There's little danger of an unintentional brush, and you're not sure you're ready to try the touch. You want something that will build up to the touch, so you rub your foot across their foot. You received a good response to that. They didn't move away and return just a little pressure. Wait a few minutes if you're feeling gay. Then brush your knee on their knee or your thigh against their thigh. Because there is no ambiguity in this signal, you've progressed from flirting to seduction. 19. Have fun. You'll engage in flirty behavior such as pinching, tickling, gently tapping, sticking out your tongue, sitting in his, her lap, or swiping his, her cap or keys when you're feeling playful. These actions are all intended to draw his or her attention to you. What is the most likely reaction if you steal something like keys? Perhaps you'll be pursued under the guise of recovering the stolen products. 20. Hugs. Hugs are a nice way to say goodbye and a great way to make a lasting impression. The embrace isn't appropriate for every situation, but if you do get the chance, don't waste it with a weak or too sexual hug. The secret to a good embrace is to hug from the heart, to hold strong without squeezing, and to take a long, calm, deep breath. This can help you form a strong bond and set the door for future flirting. Kissing is number 21. The difficulty here is which kiss to use for the occasion. Lips to lips, cheek to cheek, or kissing the air. This is another one of those concerns with personal space. After a proper introduction, a quick kiss on each cheek, very European, is nearly always welcomed. If you want to give him a green light or simply collect another adoring male, a surprise smack on the cheek can send him spinning. Points to remember. You are continuously transmitting signals through your body language, the majority of which are unintentionally communicated. Pay attention to nonverbal signs and look for groups of signals that express the same message. Experiment with your peripheral vision. Be aware of your personal space, how others perceive it, and how you might utilize it to measure interest. Flirts pay attention to nonverbal clues. 7. Word strength. You'll be a fantastic flirt if you can get your tongue around beautiful phrase. Language has the power to persuade or recommend. It can alter your and others' feelings. Does this imply that you must have a dictionary and a thesaurus with you at all times? No. When it comes to flirting, though, being fun with words pays off. Don't worry if you become tongue-tied while flirting. We'll give you plenty of suggestions and exercises to help you become more fluent. Cheesy pickup lines will be a thing of the past after reading this chapter. Instead, you'll be able to engage anyone, anywhere, at any time. Words have the power to injure or heal, to build or pull down, to laud or criticize. In the imagination of the listener, words conjure up images, sounds, and feelings. They have the ability to create or amplify emotions. Thoughts, ideas, and feelings are encoded in language. Someone's mind has to actively decode what they hear when they hear you talk. The act of decoding alters the connections between brain cells, so changing someone's mind physically and metaphorically. While the precise words you used may fade from memory, the meaning remains. What matters most is the meaning. The meaning is what gives an emotion or an impression. You'll make others feel good and give the sense that you're a fun person to be around if you use words to have fun with them. Is persuasive and suggestive language manipulative? We were asked. The answer is yes, but not in a pessimistic sense. Wouldn't you use it if you had a way of making people feel appreciated? Once you open your mind to it, opportunities to flirt fluently are all around you. When you flirt, you're trying to get someone's attention and keep it in a nice, lighthearted way. So, how do you go about doing that? Sophie noticed him in the canned food section. He was tall, slim, and fairly attractive, but it was his little boy-lost expression as he pondered which canned fish to put in his basket that drew her in. Sophie didn't usually stop to flirt with strangers, but she did when she came across Canned Fish Guy. She found herself exclaiming, "This one's quite good," as she pulled a can from the shelf. He looked at her, a little taken aback but clearly relieved to have some assistance. "Thank you," he expressed his gratitude. "Perhaps I'll stock up," he said, reaching for 6 cans. Sophie smiled as she continued, "I guess you must like fish." Canned Fish Guy smiled back, but before responding, he examined the contents of Sophie's trolley, which included 4 sachets of washing powder. "And you must enjoy washing," he added with a grin. Sophie looked up at him shyly and explained the advantages of buying in bulk that particular type of washing tablet. There was a brief moment as they stood there looking at each other after she finished. The Canned Fish Guy was the one who broke the stillness. "You've persuaded me. Can you tell me which aisle I should go to acquire some? You look like a good person, so I'll show you," Sophie remarked, and the two of them continued to shop together, sometimes parting ways but occasionally bumping into each other. Sophie wasn't sure who proposed coffee, but they ended up at the next door coffee shop, where they talked for 2 hours. Sophie and Tim, the Canned Fish Guy, are still dating as of this writing. Flirting doesn't necessarily lead to dating, and it shouldn't, but it does happen. And it's interesting to hear how two people meet. The meeting between Sophie and Tim reveals that each flirting moment has a form, which can be deciphered by analyzing it. Sophie flirted with a wonderful opening line based on Tim's bachelor shopping behavior, which she had seen. Utilization is jargon for saying what is unquestionably true. It establishes rapport and serves as a springboard for further discussion. Sophie then asked, "I suppose you must like fish." Despite the fact that it is worded as a statement, it contains some humor. Tim chose not to respond to the inquiry, but he caught up on the flirting by examining Sophie's shopping cart contents. "Is that it?" Kim cocked her brow. "Would you like to make a film with me?" Jeff inquired, excitedly. "You mean play hooky and feel a little naughty?" "If you want. Are you ready to ask some flirty questions while Kim and Jeff go to the movies?" Remember that when someone goes inside themselves to find the answer, they will relive some of the feelings associated with the question. Kim did this beautifully with a light touch on Jeff's arm, as a good flirt knows how to link good feelings to themselves. The raised brow was a clear nonverbal green signal that even Jeff, who moved slowly, couldn't miss. When you pay attention, it's all pretty simple. Did you notice any of Jeff's interests or values? Jeff was initially modest or reserved in sharing information about himself, but the obvious double meaning of what you like to do for fun set the stage for a conversation. Kim's question then shifted to, "How do you unwind?" Jeff tells Kim that he appreciates movies because they allow him to escape and make him feel like a schoolboy. We can deduce from this that Jeff has strong values about proper behavior, and that in order to have fun or relax, he needs to get away from the confines of work. Jeff mentions the cinema's time warp effect, implying that he places a high value on being on time. By putting herself in Jeff's shoes, Kim began to get him and establish a connection that made Jeff feel comfortable enough to ask for a date. While it is not always the intention of a date to flirt, it made them both feel good in this case. Flirtatiously flattered. It stands to reason that those most prone to flattery are those with low self-esteem. No, it does not. The higher your self-esteem, the more likely you are to accept flattery and compliments as fair and just recognition of your abilities and beauty. When using flattery and compliments when flirting, the challenge is to make them genuine and sincere. We use so many superlatives in everyday speech that they have worn out from overuse. Following a compliment with an infrequently asked question will spark a conversation and allow you to establish deep rapport while appearing genuine. I've seen you handle difficult situations between coworkers. For example, you have an incredible ability to make everyone feel good about themselves. Can you teach me how to deal with such problems and achieve the same positive results you do? Tips for flattery that have been tried and tested. Casanova believed that praising the beautiful for their intelligence and the intelligent for their beauty was the key to successful flirtation. If you flatter someone to another person, the compliment will most likely be passed on. This is a very effective way to get the attention of the person you flatter, and the compliment will almost certainly be perceived as genuine and sincere because you are speaking to a third person. But don't ruin it by asking the person to pass on the compliment. You could be flattering anyone if you use general or one-size-fits-all compliments like you're great or you're the best. Make your points clear. Instead of telling someone you think they're great, explain why you think they're great. I really like how you take the time to listen to other people's opinions before sharing your own. For example, or the way you play with your hair makes you look so cute. Your ability to observe is directly related to your ability to compliment and flatter. Flirting is all about noticing other people and making them feel good. So forget about backhanded personal compliments like "I'm surprised at how nice you are. Everyone said you were a real pain." Backhanders send a mixed message, with the recipient more likely to focus on the negative and dismiss the positive. It also implies that your initial impression of them was less than favorable. When complimenting a situation rather than a person, you can get away with a little negativity. If someone you like invites you to an art house film, but you prefer Hollywood blockbusters, don't go. If you enjoy the film, you might tell them that you used to think art house films were strange and obscure. But thanks to them, you've discovered you like them. Nobody gets tired of being complimented, but the warm and fuzzy feeling you get when someone compliments you is fleeting. It makes no difference if you repeat the compliment if it is personal, genuine, and appropriate. Sharing a secret with someone is a subtly flattering act. You're telling them you trust them with something personal about yourself. Make sure you choose someone you know well enough to confide in with your secret, or else it could backfire spectacularly. Use ambiguity or humor to your advantage. Nothing succeeds like humor, and it's one of the most sought-after attributes in a partner. If you've ever read the singles columns, you'll notice that GSOH, excellent sense of humor, is frequently listed as a desired characteristic or need. A GSOH is more than just delivering jokes. It's about having fun and recognizing the humorous side of everyday circumstances and the amusing things people say and do. It's appealing to be able to laugh at yourself as long as it's not a sneer. Keep it light when flirting. Flirting will fall flat if you lose your sense of humor. You're a big fan of Hollywood blockbusters. If you appreciate the movie, you may tell them you've always thought art house movies were strange and obscure. But thanks to them, you've discovered you enjoy them. Nobody gets tired of being complimented, but the warm and fuzzy feeling you receive when someone compliments you is only temporary. If the compliment is genuine, real, and appropriate, it doesn't matter if you repeat it. It's a subtle sort of flattery to share a secret with someone. You're letting them know you're entrusting them with something personal. If you chose someone you don't know well enough to trust with your secret, this could go horribly wrong. Tim was waiting for the traffic lights to turn red and the small man to turn green at the crossing. A psychic flyer was taped to the lamp post, with tear-off phone numbers at the bottom. Tim smiled and pointed to the billboard as he turned to the female next to him. If the psychic was any good, she'd already have my phone number, he joked. Perhaps this isn't the most amusing or innovative line you've ever heard, but at least Tim tried. The girl smiled, and everyone felt a little better as a result of the joke. Enticing double entendres. A double entendre, or a phrase with two meanings, adds levity and ambiguity to your flirtation. It's a word or phrase that can be interpreted in two ways. One is clean, while the other is usually risque or indelicate. Double entendres are both brilliant and nasty. They add humor and wit to your interactions by being delivered in the authentic spirit of flirting. In 1947, Elliot White Spring stunned the American business establishment when he used the moniker Spring Maid in a double entendre. To promote his sheets, he featured a cartoon of a native North American couple on a sheet hammock with a double meaning. "A buck well spent for a Spring Maid sheet," read the caption. The thrill of flirting with double meanings is in the uncertainty, not in the obvious. It's all in the delivery when it comes to double entendres, as it's easy to get carried away and become crude rather than funny. Jill Fithian's article, H2OG2, was published on the BBC One website. Indeterminate pronouns like it and want, plenty of prepositions like up and in, and handy tiny verbs like have and got are all key components of an effective double entendre. A skilled double entendre user will never raise a flag when he can simply raise it, or complicate a situation when he can simply make it difficult. It's vital to remember that, although unlikely. Your statement should have some ostensibly clean interpretation. If you don't, you'll wind up with a single entendre that lacks style. Cooking, architecture, and engineering are all assured double entendre zones. It's customary to demonstrate that you understand a double entendre by yelling one of many possible responses like "Gooer," "nudge, nudge," "wink, wink," and sounds a bit impolite, are common answers. You can even add those sentences as suffixes yourself. However, purists despise such clumsy usage and prefer to just slip one in wherever possible. When flirting or presenting BBC game shows, double entendres are a must, but not at funerals or international summits. Delivery and timing. Never underestimate the power of a pause in a conversation to create space. The pause allows the other person to complete a phrase or add something to the conversation. This is a terrific method to get you both on the same page, so to speak, and once you're on the same page, the flirting will come effortlessly. Create the necessary energy. Have you ever been to Wimbledon or the Hopman Cup and witnessed a fantastic rally? The greater the intensity, excitement, and expectation, the more times the ball goes over the net. The more banter there is, the more flirting there is. You can improve your communication skills. It's similar to riding a bike or typing. You can quickly increase the quality of every aspect of your life if you are prepared to put in the effort. Brian Tracy is a writer and a musician. Points to remember. Great flirts have a thing for words. Play with words to keep the conversation continuing. Develop the ability to ask the appropriate questions. Compliment and flatter others. Pay attention to the details and keep personal information in mind. 8. Identifying personal filtering. Personal views and interpretations are important filters that you apply to everyday experience. It is not only unusual life experiences that alter our interpretations and perceptions. It is also the recurrence of everyday occurrences and results that establishes our personal patterns. Flirting is the same way. The other person's personal filters will always receive, translate, and process your body language, what you say, and how you behave. Let's say Brad has an idea and decides to share it with Julie. Brad consciously converts the notion into words in order to express it. Meanwhile, Brad's unconscious mind is transmitting how he feels about the concept by leading him to send nonverbal cues. Julie hears Brad's words and interprets them into her own thoughts using visuals, sounds, and feelings. Julie's interpretation is influenced by how she filters information, how she is feeling at the time, and her previous experiences. Julie is inadvertently picking up on Brad's nonverbal cues and attempting to decipher them. Her interpretation may or may not be correct, but it will undoubtedly influence how she interprets the words and, as a result, what she believes they mean. Is it any surprise that Julie can get the wrong idea, even though Brad is crystal explicit about what he wants to communicate? The fact that Brad may not be completely clear about how he feels or what he wants to communicate complicates the situation even more. It may appear difficult, yet we have been communicating in this manner since we first started to speak. Understanding this model will aid you in deciphering communications and giving you the option of sending clear messages or not, depending on the flirting situation. The 2 television networks. The graphics and the audio inform or entertain you while you watch television. Have you ever tried to guess what's going on while watching a movie with the sound turned off? Or listened to the show but couldn't see the pictures since the TV was on in one room while you were in another? We need both sights and sound to fully comprehend what is going on. When we communicate, it's the same way. There are 2 types of communication channels, verbal and nonverbal. You communicate your thoughts and feelings through these 2 channels. Because thoughts are most easily articulated through words, you tend to use the verbal channel to transfer your thoughts. You can still utilize the verbal channel to communicate how you feel when you want to send feelings, but the most powerful messages come through your body language or nonverbal signs. Consider your thoughts to be your mind, and your emotions to be your heart. Every waking moment, your brain is bombarded with information. It copes by filtering away the majority of the day and only paying attention to what it considers to be significant. The majority of filters are unconsciously applied. A packed party where everyone is chatting in groups is an example of this. You can hear the individuals in your immediate circle, but the other groups are filtered out and become a cacophony of noise. When someone from one of the other groups starts talking about you and uses your name, your attention is drawn to them, and you hear what they're saying because the filter is lifted and your focus shifts. What happens when you buy an automobile is an example of visual filters. When you start looking for or driving that type of car, you'll notice that it seems like every other car on the road is the same model and brand. The exercise in Chapter 5 assisted you in determining if you are primarily a looker, listener, or feeler. These preferences serve as a sort of filter. The content of a communication will be filtered based on the key interests and values of the recipient. Understanding this provides you with the key to building stronger relationships with others. Feelers may ignore much of what is said in favor of focusing on how the speaker made them feel. Listeners will pay attention to what is said and how it is said, and they may be critical of poorly articulated ideas. The eyes of onlookers are drawn to the person's looks and facial emotion. Your primary concern is for yourself. There is no need for artificial modesty here because we are all the same. You'll pay attention if someone is talking about you, but if they're talking about their main interest without mentioning you, you'll probably tune out. So while you're flirting, don't talk about yourself. Instead, talk about the person with whom you're flirting. They'll pay attentively and be less likely to misunderstand what you're trying to say if you do this. Following yourself, you have additional primary interests that might be classified as people, places, things, action, or information. These pursuits are valued differently by various people. When asked how their vacation in Greece went, a couple would talk about the wonderful people they met around the pool, while the other might talk about the architecture and history of the country. Because knowledge is power, now is an excellent moment to figure out what your main passion is. Your top priorities are. All of the statements that pertain to you should be circled. 1. When I want to unwind, I prefer to A. Spend time with friends or family. B. Learn about new people, places, or things. C. Go to interesting areas or simply do things around the house. D. Engage in sports or other activities. And E. Spend time in stores looking for something new. 2. Biographies, gossip magazines, reality TV, entertainment, news. B. Travel guides, holiday programs, National Geographic. C. Sporting magazines, extreme sports, fitness advice, DIY. Self-help books, Discovery Channel, business news, professional publications. E. Vogue, shopping catalogs, home shows, car magazines. E. Vogue, shopping catalogs, home shows, car magazines. 3. When I travel, I enjoy A. Meeting new people. B. Exploring the local region. C. Participating in local cultural activities and customs. D. Learning about the local history and visiting locations that will broaden my understanding of the area. And E. Purchasing a souvenir of my stay. 4. I prefer to spend my free time A. With friends, family, or meeting new people. B. Visiting different locations and exploring new places. C. Participating in sports or doing something active. D. Attending workshops, taking courses to learn something new, or reading to improve my mind. And E. In retail therapy. 5. I choose to live where I do because A. I am close to my friends and family. B. Location, location, location. C. It is near the activities I enjoy. D. It is a wonderful learning environment. And E. It is close to the stores. 6. During the holiday season, I'm most likely to be found A. With people I care about. B. At a resort, my own home, or somewhere special. C. Doing something energetic and fun. D. Catching up on reading. E. Shopping for gifts and decorating the house. 7. If I have an option, I will eat A. With my family and friends, where I can observe people. B. At home or in my favorite restaurant. C. On the move. D. While reading or watching TV. E. At a good restaurant. Metaprograms in NLP are an example of primary filters. This quiz is based on Roger Bailey's work in the lab profile. Your primary filters are 8, as you can see. My ideal job would A. Allow me to meet and work with fascinating people. B. Be in a pleasant setting. C. Be full of activities. D. Allow me to learn and grow as a person. And E. Pay well enough for me to spend time with my family. Metaprograms in NLP are an example of primary filters. This quiz is based on Roger Bailey's work in the lab profile. Your key filters will be those subjects related to the letters for which you obtained high marks. Now that you've figured it out, add up all of the A, B, C, D, and E statements you circled and build a bar graph of your results. Make sure you don't monopolize a conversation by talking too much about your passions. Take attention of what others are saying and concentrate on those topics instead. Others' primary filters. When you're talking to individuals, you won't have the luxury of asking them to fill out the above questionnaire to determine their priorities. But here's a guide to assist you identify someone's primary interest. The who is most important to people. They discuss people, their friends, people they know, and well-known people. They have a habit of gossiping and don't like being alone. People from different places discuss their travels and their residences. They take pride in their surroundings, so their houses, gardens, and offices are tidy and well-equipped. Action persons despise being sedentary. They enjoy the thrill of action and will discuss about hobbies, sports, and leisure time. Knowledge people are interested in the why and what of information, and will discuss books they have read, topics they have researched, and courses they have taken. Money, prestige, and power are three things that people worry about. They discuss their belongings, such as vehicles, houses, clothes, and toys. Filters that are the same or different. Evaluating new information in terms of sameness or differences is a very powerful filter that produces communication difficulty. Some people process new information by looking for exceptions or ways in which it is incorrect. Yes, but is a common response from these people when you ask them a question. These folks are drawn to things that are unusual. They are looking for the outlier. The bulk of people evaluate new information or events by comparing them to what they are already familiar with. This is why food franchises are so successful. Most people prefer to stick to what they know rather than explore new things. When you look at the arrows in the diagram below, what do you see? If you observe 4 identical arrows, you're filtering information by looking for commonalities. You look for things that are similar to what you already know. You'll be drawn to the same person or sort of person to flirt with because you're comfortable with them. If you see 2 arrows pointing in the same way and 2 arrows pointing in opposite directions, you filter information by looking for similarities first, then differences. When you flirt, you'll be drawn to people who are similar to you at first, but it's the distinctions that excite you. You are fully wired for differences if you first observe 2 arrows facing in opposite direction. You live your life in search of fresh thrills. You're looking for something different to stimulate you, and you'll approach flirting with this attitude and inclination. How can I tell if someone else is using the same or a different filter? People frequently stay in the same work for a long time and visit the same areas every weekend with the same pals. Not exactly daring. People who are the same yet different have tried a few new things and will cautiously explore new possibilities. Different people become bored easily and require fresh people, places, and challenges to keep them stimulated. They are unlikely to stay in one employment for an extended period of time. Can you see how things can get difficult and misunderstandings occur when 2 individuals are trying to communicate and one is seeking for differences while the other is looking for similarities? There are a slew of other filters at work in people's regular interactions. When flirting or communicating in general, keep in mind that the message isn't complete until it's heard and comprehended. When you're speaking with someone, pay attention to not only what they're saying, but also how they're saying it. Be enthralled, especially if they appear to be eager to discuss a specific issue or to attach emotion to a subject. We provided some helpful questions to ask in the last chapter. When you suspect anything is being filtered, ask yourself these questions. What do you mean by that? Does that matter to you? Could you please explain what that means to you? By asking these questions, you will gain insight into their world and establish a rapport with them. Mind reading or even so-called intuition aren't the key to knowing people. The key to reading someone is to be present in the moment and listen intently enough to recognize his or her mood. Michael Hull, MD. A flirter may play the card of causing misunderstanding. We've already discussed double entendre, but there are more. Personal filters to be aware of. Other ways to deliver mixed messages are discussed in the next chapter. 119 761 Main. QX 528041123 AM page 119. Points to remember. You see the world through your own unique set of lenses. You're communicating through at least 2 channels, verbal and nonverbal. And your verbal communication is filtered and influenced by the nonverbals around you. Don't monopolize a conversation by bringing up your favorite subject. Don't take anything at face value unless you double-check it. 9. Confusing MESS. I'm not sure if what you said was what I heard you say, or if what I heard you say was what you meant, but if you meant what I thought I heard you say, I'm at a loss for words. Confused. It can be tough to translate flirting messages, but with the correct mindset, it can be enjoyable. We've covered flirting attitudes, body language, words, personal filters, and interpretations so far. Now we'll look at thoughts and feelings to see what happens when you give and receive flirting messages. We express our sentiments mostly through body language, whereas words carry notions and ideas. If your head and heart aren't in sync, you'll unintentionally send a mixed message. There are both purposeful and unintended confused messages in flirting. Is this a deliberate act or not? When you say anything that can be backed away from without hurting anyone's ego or causing any unpleasant scenes, you're sending a deliberate muddled message. Then, a fashion photographer, for example, attends all of the new season's fashion shows to capture images for a well-known fashion magazine. He notices a fresh face one night, Laura, the creator of the collection on display. Ben approaches Laura and compliments her on how lovely she looks in her new season's attire. Ben can seem surprised and pretend he was complimenting her in his professional position if Laura gets furious, and instructs Ben to stop attempting to come on to her. On the other hand, she can take the compliment personally if she wishes, and if she is interested, she can flirt back. Laura can also exit the scene to save face if she does not receive the response she desires. When you first start flirting with someone new, you utilize the intended mixed message almost as a matter of course. Simply put, if you don't want to come across as a fool, you send out mixed signals to elicit a response. In most cases, unintentional mixed signals are the result of a struggle between the mind and the heart. Often, people don't feel comfortable expressing themselves, and their physiology reflects this. They won't say, "This makes me feel uncomfortable," but their body language will scream, "Stay away from me." Someone may even flirt with you non-verbally while maintaining a cool and non-committal demeanor. Your intellect and heart don't always agree, or your thoughts haven't caught up with your feelings but are still broadcasting to the world. Consider the woman from Chapter 1, who thinks women who flirt are usually shallow and men who flirt are often sleazy, but feels sassy when she flirts and is loved and appreciated when someone flirts with her. There's a battle going on between her mind and her heart. Other accidental mixed messages include when the person you're flirting with finds you beautiful and enjoyable but has an attitude that suggests it's not safe to flirt, or that it's not appropriate, or that what if someone else sees. They may appreciate the attention, but they believe that these things require time and that you are moving too quickly. Or they might want to get to know you, but prior hurt and rejection keep them from sending you positive signals or encouraging words. Have you ever heard someone say, "A part of me wants to, but another part of me doesn't want to"? This demonstrates a contradiction between their head and heart. Despite their mind's warnings that something isn't a good idea, or that someone isn't the appropriate fit for them, they are emotionally drawn to the concept or the person. Although people frequently act primarily from their heads or their hearts, there are occasions when the two are at odds. Even if you normally analyze information, respond to others, and make decisions with your head, there will be occasions when your heart will fight to be heard above your head's supremacy. If you generally function from the heart, the opposite can be true. You will have times when you really want to do something or be with someone, but your mind will be racing with all kinds of notions that will make you doubt your feelings. If this sounds like a prescription for perplexity, it is, for you and everyone else involved in the circumstance. These inner conflicts can be communicated through words or body language, and they can lead to hesitation, perplexity, and even frustration. The individual who is always in love with the bad boy or bad lady is one of the most common examples of this head-heart struggle. Their head tells them it will end in tears, but their heart yearns for the adventure, challenge, or excitement. Occasionally, their head will even suggest that things might be different this time. Effective communication is 80% about how you feel about what you know and 20% about what you know. Jim Rohn is a well-known author and speaker. You interpret the two routes we discussed, the verbal and nonverbal, to receive messages. If interpretation refers to your personal understanding of something, then all signals are susceptible to misinterpretation. Paul and Sally's story highlights inadvertent mixed messages and how easy it is to misread a situation if you don't continuously checking to see if you're getting it. Paul, who is in his 30s, is a pleasant and affable individual. He is unmarried and lives in a tiny apartment building where almost everyone knows each other. Paul has a handy toolbox and is always prepared to assist if someone in the building has a clogged drain or a malfunctioning dishwasher. For at least half of the people who live in his apartment building, he has bored holes in the walls and hung pictures. Sally relocates to a unit beneath Paul's. She is also in her late 20s and single. She and Paul become friends and frequently cross paths on the stairwell or in the parking lot. They begin knocking on each other's doors for milk, sugar, or coffee, and these visits can easily evolve into hours of casual chat. Flirting and teasing emerge from the friendship. They meet for a cup of coffee and a discussion soon after, and Paul begins to assist Sally with repairing her apartment. Then they started exchanging notes to plan a pizza and movie night at each other's apartments. Her notes are friendly rather than flirtatious, but she does decorate them with little hearts, flowers, or grinning faces. Paul deduces that the flirting, as well as the hearts, flowers, and faces on the notes, indicate that Sally wants to do more than have a cup of coffee or a pizza. So he proposes a sunset picnic. Sally withdraws almost immediately, and the bond becomes strained. Paul is perplexed, and after several weeks of Sally avoiding him, he confronts her. She expresses her dissatisfaction with Paul's idea of a sunset picnic, and believes he is attempting to seduce her. When Paul notices the little messages with hearts and flowers, she laughs and tells him they're simply doodles. She informs Paul that she regards him as a friend and that their relationship is entirely platonic. She's astonished he didn't realize it. Paul's interpretation of Sally's friendliness, flirtation, and notes provided him with all the evidence he needed to believe Sally was more than a friend. Was it the hearts on the letters or the notes themselves that prompted Paul to offer a romantic date, or the flirting or the shared pizza and film nights? Doodles of hearts and flowers were the stuff of schoolgirl notes between pals in Sally's world. Pizza with a friend was preferable to a night on your own. And flirting. Well, didn't everyone flirt? Was Sally flirting with you? Yes, we believe so. She was making Paul feel special while also getting a buzz. Why did Paul believe she desired more? And how could Sally have prevented a humiliating circumstance in the first place? Situations like this develop when one or both sides are unfamiliar with the rules of the game. Flirting is enjoyable and rewarding. Sally was a little naive in not recognizing that most men interpret any positive message as a green signal to advance farther unless boundaries have been established. Guys can act like hyperactive puppies when a girl says "come here," jumping up on her shoulders and knocking her over. Flirting has a tendency to get out of hand. Paul's passionate body language and behavior had changed, and Sally should have noticed. Sally might have given obvious indications that she didn't want the friendship to progress by saying things like, "We're just having fun, aren't we?" Or "It's great to have a male buddy to flirt with and know it won't go any farther than flirting." The question is whether Sally was clear that it was only a friendship. It's possible that her mind and heart were at odds. If her heart was screaming, "This is simply friendship," but her intellect was saying, "Paul has a lot of what I'm seeking for in a mate," she may have been sending more green lights to poor Paul than she realized. So, what went wrong for Paul? Well, Paul isn't alone. Many people make the all-or-nothing mistake. Many people struggle to understand the flirting dance or prefer to look for a consequence rather than enjoy flirting for the sake of flirting. As a result, Paul misinterpreted the signals, possibly because he was only listening to one of the two channels. When your words tell one thing but your body says something else, it's time to seek clarification. Carl Grammer, a leading expert on human behavior, has undertaken study that backs up what men have long suspected. Women send males a mix of signals. His findings suggest two explanations for this. Women take their time evaluating a man's appropriateness, and they wish to avoid straightforward rejection of unsuitable men to spare the men's feelings. A lady who sends inconsistent messages is frequently wasting her time. Even if she doesn't sense chemistry with him or isn't physically attracted to him, she will go through a number of unconscious procedures to determine his suitability. While doing so, she will give out positive signals 60% of the time, balanced by negative signals 40% of the time, until she has formed a solid choice about her level of interest in the male. This may seem harsh, but when it comes to selecting a possible mate, whether for life or for the night, women absorb information differently than men. She will react to what she sees, hears, and feels, which may take time. Men's selection takes significantly less time because their initial decision is solely based on what they observe. As a result, the problem for guys is to recognize that early in an encounter, the signals girls transmit are always confused. It reminds me of the Dr. Doolittle's push-me-pull-you creature. "Come here." "No, not that close." "Go away just a little." "Come here." "That's far enough for now, but don't go too far away." Come back is how it works with girls. Unless the guys understand the game, this pattern of come here and go away is completely perplexing to them. When a woman is interested in a man, she will send him a few signals. But it is only when she perceives his interest in her that she begins to judge how interested she is in him and what her level of interest might be. This time-consuming procedure may necessitate some mental and emotional acrobatics. She'll run through several situations in her head as she considers whether this guy is more of a buddy or a boyfriend type of pal. She is likely to send enough good signals when making this decision for him to feel certain that she is interested in him. Clarification. So, what are your options for navigating this minefield? Simply being aware that you might be receiving confusing messages will help you flirt more effectively. Prepare to look for the cluster of signals we outlined before, and to measure the response. Make a few flirty actions or statements. If you get a positive answer, keep seeking for more positive signals to start flirting seriously. Begin to alter your tempo by taking 2 steps forward and one step back, recalling the flirting pattern. The beat will keep the flirtation light and fun. It's crucial to enjoy flirting for the sake of flirting. Flirting, like life, is a voyage of discovery rather than a destination to reach. If people consistently misunderstand you, you may be sending mixed signals. It's possible that you'll need to take a seat and have a meeting with your heart. Is there a part of you that wants more from relationships and another that is scared? Simply being conscious that this communication is taking place between your intellect and your heart will go a long way toward clearing up the misunderstanding. If the issue persists, seek the advice of a coach or a friend who can assist you in determining what you truly desire. Check out our list of green and red light signals and add any that you think of to help you figure out when it's safe to move forward in the flirting game. Some light indications are green. Winking, laughing, holding your gaze, rearranging clothing, tilting the head, fondling an object such as a glass or a set of keys, licking or wetting the lips, parading past you. I'm ready and eager, why don't you find out? Guess how could I say no? It's got to be fate, let's see what happens. A few red lights indicate danger. Nonverbal, crossed arms, yawning, bored eyes, fluttering across the room or over your shoulder, tapping fingers on a hard surface, turning away from you, stepping away if you move closer, shrinking from your contact. Signals in action. An example. He has a certain appearance. She acknowledges and establishes eye contact. He acknowledges and makes eye contact. She gives a cheerful nod. He smiles as she plays with her hair or flips it. He gets close to you. Flirting with words starts. Points to remember. Look for signal clusters that confirm the message you believe is being conveyed. Great flirts are able to connect with both their heads and hearts. Consider the bigger picture. Let folks know when you're merely flirting. Identify your priorities and work with them. 10. Extremely. Flirting behind closed doors is straightforward and bold. You feel braver when you aren't face to face. Phones, email, and chat rooms are all fantastic locations to flirt, but SMS appears to be the most popular. Is it because the consequences of an out-of-control SMS aren't as humiliating as saying something stupid in front of someone? Or is it because of the convenience and immediacy? All of these, we believe, are to blame. You have time on your side when flirting by email and SMS. You could spend an hour writing a beautifully humorous SMS or email. SMS flirting is a great way to break the ice and make flirting enjoyable for even the most shy of people. When you text, neither the sender nor the receiver is under any duress. Textual intercourse is a term used to describe high-tech flirtation. It's a low-stress approach to flirt, especially if you're shy at first. People will send SMS messages that they would not utter in person. Because SMSs do not need the recipient to answer the phone and have a discussion, they are less intrusive than phone calls. It's an excellent method to let someone know you're thinking of them throughout a hectic day. It can alleviate some of the difficulty of deciding what to say. And because messages are limited to 160 characters, clever acronyms or emojis are employed. Figures from SMS. Its popularity cannot be questioned. SMS usage is rapidly increasing over the world. Between 2000 and 2003, when it became possible to send SMS between carriers, SMS usage in some markets increased by over 1,000%. While 300 million text messages are delivered each month in Australia, only 400 persons in India send over 25 million SMS messages daily. Every hour in the United Kingdom, 1 million SMS messages are sent. Because of their mixed deployment of mobile phone technology, the United States has been lagging behind other countries in the use of SMS until recently. The fact that they don't use GSM is also a factor. Although not all SMS text messages are used for flirting, evidence suggests that flirting messages make up a significant portion of all SMSs. Over 80 million SMSs were sent on Valentine's Day 2002 in the United Kingdom, and a similar quantity was sent in other nations using SMS services. According to Virgin Mobile's research, more than 50% of their users flirt via SMS. More than 53% of their single users have used SMS to ask someone out. 1 in 4 thinks they can be more forward in an SMS than when talking with someone. 1 in 3 guys and 1 in 5 girls said they would make their first move through SMS. Marketing slogans like "had any good text lately" or "had any inexpensive text lately" correspond to the findings of the study. In a recent survey in the United Kingdom, more than 40% of those polled stated they had used SMS to express their feelings for someone or to invite them out. The new catchphrase is "text me." Are you using SMS to RUIT? It's the leadiest way to kid, and you'll be sad if you don't know how to SMS. If you're serious about flirting, you should master SMS because it's a whole new language. In case you're new to SMS, we've included a list of some of the most commonly used acronyms below. Why have we included SMS flirting in this audio? And how far may SMS flirting go? It's one of the most popular flirting techniques right now, according to our study. Just look at the options for flirting over SMS to see how popular it is and how much money it may bring in. It's big business when it comes to SMS flirting. There are a slew of organizations that provide SMS flirting services in a wide range of options. TextJam is a startup located in the United Kingdom that allows drivers to flirt with one another by using their license plate number as the contact number. Your automobile number plate is about to become your new contact number, according to their website www.textjam.com. Without knowing each other's phone numbers, drivers can text each other. The number plate on your automobile will be linked to your email address and mobile phone number if you register with TextJam. When someone sends an SMS to your car's license plate, the message is routed through TextJam's dedicated number, according to the findings of the study. In a recent survey in the United Kingdom, more than 40% of those polled stated they had used SMS to express their feelings for someone or to invite them out. Using your mobile phone to check your email, of course. This is only possible if both parties have TextJam accounts. With a promotion named FlirtFest, Virgin Mobile offers a fun platform for SMS flirting. On Valentine's Day 2002, in partnership with Nova radio station, the first FlirtFest was hosted in Sydney. 100 participants were chosen at random from an SMS entry to take part in this flirtatious feast. The victors were given an ID number and asked to relax in a room at the top of Australia Square that had been set aside just for them, complete with bean bags and shagpile carpet. When the competition started, contestants flirted with each other by displaying their ID numbers on a wide screen for all to see, as well as their messages. A sensual evening when furtive looks were replaced with the tantalizing tapping of smartphone keypads, said Nathan Rosenberg, Virgin Mobile's communications manager. FlirtFest was such a hit that it has been replicated in other Australian cities. Texting is now one of the most important tools in the search for love, which is why the SMS FlirtFest was such a huge success. Nathan says. He claims that Virgin's clients use SMS as an icebreaker, a method to express interest without going too far out on a limb. SMS has recently exploded in popularity as people realize how much fun textual intercourse can be. Rosenberg explained. The Joy of Text, a handbook to sending SMS, was published by Virgin Mobile in response to the SMS boom. SMS is dubbed the new language of love because of its importance in flirting. Another Virgin venture, Flirt Alert, is based on the usage of SMS for flirting and dating. Subscribers can send flirty, anonymous messages to other subscribers through this service. Virgin, like other mobile phone service providers, understands the attraction of flirting and sees SMS as a wonderful way to encourage people to flirt. Telecommunications firms all around the world provide different flirting games. Another game we tried out was Love-A-Mate, an SMS game in which you answer a series of flirting and dating questions in order to win the privilege to flirt with an unknown person. Looking for love in all the wrong places, says Love-A-Mate on its website. So get ready to fight, because love is a battleground. You can compete with other amorous opponents on the Love-A-Mate battlefield for 30 cents every message to win the heart of a potential Love-A-Mate. Amber, 22, says that in her social group, you either get and send text messages or you're left out. Everything is done by SMS, including establishing meeting plans, being asked out on a date, and canceling dates. Flirting via SMS gives you more freedom, she claims. I'll text things I'm too embarrassed to express in person. After meeting at a friend's party, Amber and her current boyfriend set up their first date through SMS. Dave was shy at first, and if he hadn't had to use the phone, he may not have called me, Amber revealed. He got my phone from a buddy and texted it to me a few days later. GR82 meet UI. I divided by. I responded with an SMS, telling him I'd want to meet him again. And that's how our first date was set up. SMSing is a terrific way to flirt and date because it's less intimidating for guys to contact you to check if you're interested. It's easier for them than calling to ask us out. And it has to be a win-win situation for everyone, Amber exclaimed. We agree with her that anything that makes people feel comfortable flirting is a good thing. SMS flirting may be both innovative and amusing, but it's rarely subtle, which is perhaps why it's so popular. Even if the SMS sender claims they were joking or didn't mean what you thought, text messages are simple to decipher if you understand the language. How to use SMS to flirt. SMS flirting may be a lot of fun, and it's also bold and straightforward, as we've already mentioned. You may assure that your SMS will be warmly received by remembering a few of the standard flirting guidelines. Try not to be overly clever. Keep it light and playful rather than being overtly provocative unless you're already having more personal sexual flirtations with someone. Remember to use something like "you're" to impress the person. If you want to express your gratitude for something they've done, QTE will let them know you like them without being misconstrued. When sending an SMS, seek for a response that signals the receiver is enjoying the attention, just like you would with any other form of flirting. If you're sending SMSs, make sure their responses are encouraging. Sending SMS text messages has the risk of going overboard and offending or angering someone. We know of a prospective romance that was snuffed out due to a text message exchange. Kate and Stuart met in December, right before Kate flew out of state for the holidays with her family. They communicated via text messages while thousands of miles apart, continuing what had begun as a playful affair. Another SMS from Stuart arrived just as Kate was ready to retire to bed. They exchanged text messages for almost an hour after Kate responded. Then Kate received an unexpected message. "If he had ever said it to my face, I would have slapped him," she added, though she wouldn't reveal what Stuart said in the text message. Instead, she turned off her phone and went to bed, putting a stop to their burgeoning connection, as far as we know. So, a word of caution: when sending a flirting SMS, remember to be playful, fun, and lighthearted, as well as a little naughty if the situation warrants it. Lexicon for text messages. HTTP //dividedby linguatwoword.com was the most useful website for SMS text translation. The list of symbols, abbreviations, and acronyms was the most extensive. Some of our favorites are listed here. 2224 for 88 is an SMS meaning. SMS marketing strategy. A clever use of SMS technology can turn a casual encounter into a flirtation. For example, suppose you meet someone innocuously and obtain their card or phone number under false pretenses. Later that day, you send them an SMS that says something like, "GR8 to see you and looking FWD to the NXT time," or "thanks for the coffee and company," or "MMM food for thought," or "thinking of an excuse to see you again," or "thinking of an excuse to see you again," or "thinking of an excuse to see you." Any communication along these lines conveys your gratitude and sets the tone for future flirting. Flirting over the internet and email. A man and a woman would have to be introduced in Victorian times. If she was intrigued, the woman would agree to allow the guy make a formal call on her, which was called wooing. The flirting continued with the exchange of scented love letters. The hotbeds of flirtation are now internet chatrooms and dating services. You meet someone, something catches your eye, and you strike up a conversation. Many people have stated that they like this method of flirting since it allows them to get to know someone before meeting them. They can convey their thoughts, feelings, and passions without the pressure of physical touch by exchanging emails. There are numerous success tales of email flirtations that have led to marriage, but there are just as many disappointments when people realize they have fallen in love with a fantasy. Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan featured in You've Got Mail as two people who loathed each other in real life, but fell in love over email. This film demonstrated the possibility of flirting over email with someone you've never met. Techniques for email flirting. The 7 flirting tactics we discussed in the audio can be used online just as well as in person. To create rapport, you must simply get in sync with the other person. Ask inquiries to find out what the person is interested in and how they feel about. This is a fantastic opportunity to connect with their passions. A nice question to ask here is, "I'm always inquisitive about what others are interested in. What piques your interest?" Be inventive. Jokes and hilarious photographs abound on the internet. To liven up your emails, use something fitting. The spoken pause is impossible to achieve via email, but you can choose to only partially answer a question or leave a topic hanging so that they respond, displaying their interest and dedication to the flirting. Compliments should not be overlooked, even if they are given online. If they send you a snapshot, congratulate them on their appearance. Jay and Dana, for example, met on the internet. Things were going well, so Jay persuaded Dana to email him a picture. Dana sent a snapshot of herself with her 2 uncles later. "Which one are you?" Jay responded. Dana was deafeningly silent in response. When you don't know the person well, online humor might be tough. If you decide to meet up with your online friend, the flirting will be intense because you've most likely already stated your respective intentions: friendship, short-term, long-term partnerships, and so on. A word of advice: start over and don't try to continue from where you left off in your last email. When you meet in person, a whole new dynamic emerges, so take it calm and steady at first. Flirting on the phone. While SMS and email can be entertaining and flirtatious, don't let them completely replace phone conversations. SMS until you feel the timing is appropriate to pick up the phone, if that works for you. Telephone flirting has a lot of power, and it can set you up for some excellent face-to-face flirtation. It's one of the simplest and most effective strategies we've found to improve your flirting language and listening ability. Because you're truly chatting with someone. Telephone flirting is more multidimensional than SMS, chat rooms, or emails. Talking entails more than just using words. It is dependent on the tone of your voice, inflections, speed of speech, laughing, and other emotional responses to transmit your words to the other person. More than the words you use can make the listener feel, comprehend, and respond to the conversation when you talk. Is there a time when the sound of someone's voice made you feel inspired or seduced? When one of the two channels is removed from an interaction, the other sense is heightened, and your mind fills in the gaps. How many times have you called someone and thought to yourself, wow, what a great voice? You form an image of someone in your mind based on your reaction to what they say, how they say it, and how the two of you interact. Then you start flirting a little bit, and if they respond, you're in full flirt mode pretty quickly. Telephone flirting is a terrific way to use a double entendre and leave a lasting impression on your date. Start practicing telephone flirting if you haven't already. Don't hang up the next time you get one of those telemarketing sales calls. Embrace it as an opportunity to practice. In the workplace, phone flirting can be really beneficial. In virtually any situation, a little flirtation will help you achieve a lot more. Getting someone's attention through schmoozing and flirting usually works out well and makes both parties happy with the interaction. When Dean was trying to track down a missing credit card, he took this mindset. He was frustrated, but he chose to approach the situation in a different way. The strip on Dean's old card had worn out, so he had bought a new one. The bank stated that it will be mailed to him. He called the bank after 10 days and still hadn't received the new card. Dean flirted with the person who took his call instead of being angry. As a result, the female he spoke with arranged for the card to be shipped to a branch near Dean's workplace. The following telephone exchange occurred the next day, proving Dean wasn't the only one who knew how to flirt. "Good morning, Dean. This is Lisa from bank. You have my credit card," Dean exclaimed, excitedly interrupting. "Yes," Lisa said flirtatiously. "It's right here in my hot, sticky hand," says the narrator. "Well, then, I'll hot-foot it over," Dean said, panting. They both burst out laughing. Dean's brief phone conversation with Lisa demonstrates how telephone flirting can be a lot of fun. Do you believe Dean wanted to check out Lisa at the bank? He reacted to the visual picture she produced for him. It brightened both of their days, and the end result made them both happy. Telephone flirting, like SMS flirting, is often more daring than face-to-face flirting. There is a useful gap between meeting someone on the phone and seeing them face-to-face while you are flirting over the phone. It's also possible to use your imagination to feed the flames of telephone flirting, making it a little more thought-stimulating. Many potential problems, as in Dean's case, will have been handled up with a little phone flattery and flirting. People can form friendships and relationships by getting to know each other via the phone, SMS, email, or in an internet chat room. You can now practice flirting from a distance using the new flirting techniques you learned in the first few chapters. It's a fantastic confidence builder, and it's not a dress rehearsal. It's real deal. Even with the contrasts between flirting from afar and flirting face-to-face that we've mentioned, the more opportunities you have to practice your new flirting abilities, the better you'll get at flirting confidently. Points to remember. Flirting out of sight can help to break the ice. Maintain contact via SMS, email, or phone. If you've never met your out-of-sight flirting companion in person, remember that there's a whole new dynamic formed when you meet in person. So start gradually and feel your way. 11. Make them happy. Richard held court with 3 attractive women in a bar. He was laid back and talkative, usually cracking jokes that made the ladies giggle. If you look carefully enough, you may notice a pattern. Richard was flirting with all 3 girls, but Christine, the girl to his left, piqued his interest the most. Richard would stroke her right elbow and smile at her every time she laughed or smiled. With a touch and a smile, Richard was making Christine feel fantastic. Making associations is a normal process for the human brain. A campfire may conjure up images of roasting marshmallows or telling stories. We can use this knowledge to form positive associations and avoid negative ones. Richard maneuvered himself between Christine and her friends later that evening. "I enjoyed the evening. You make me feel wonderful. Can we do it again?" he added, softly touching her elbow in the same location. "Feel good, again," Richard said emphatically, and Christine heard it in her head and body. Richard's smile was definitely linked to these thoughts. When you see someone is happy, you might make yourself remember by utilizing well-chosen remarks, voice tone, touch, or gesture. You may also use words to put someone in a good mood and then make a link between that good mood and yourself. The third skill in flirting is creating positive associations, or the feel-good factor. You'll have to pay attention and be willing to take risks, but trust us when we say it's exciting and rewarding. In Chapter 2, we discuss the concept of attitudes, moods, and states, as well as how they change over time. You learned how to pick a mood or enter a state. The making them feel nice skill is about putting someone else in a good mood or enhancing one that already exists. You can build a strong relationship between yourself and this sensation if you observe the other person is having a good time. And you can activate this association at any time. The trick is to pay attention to how they're feeling. What can you do or say to persuade them to change their minds? When you talk to someone or ask them questions about their hobbies and interests, they construct images and noises in their minds. Their bodies react as if they are genuinely going through what you're talking about. When this occurs, they begin to experience a sense of well-being. This can be detected through their respiration, facial expression, or vocal tone. A competent flirt will then assist them in amplifying the sensation by encouraging them to fill in more details and connect with the encounter. Create a link or an association when they begin to approach a peak experience. Nodding your head, softly touching them, saying yes, repeating a term they used to describe the experience, and replicating a motion they used are all examples of linkages. Do you recognize the name Pavlov? Pavlov is widely regarded as the father of modern behavioral psychology. Pavlov conducted tests with dogs in which he demonstrated that ringing a bell when serving food to the dogs caused them to associate the sound of the bell with the food. He rang the bell without serving the food in the next step of the experiment, and the dogs still produced saliva in preparation for eating. He demonstrated that a stimulus elicited a response. Relax if you think we're going to compare flirting to dog training. People are far more fascinating. Do you have someone in your life who makes you feel good just being around them? A grin, a look, a remark, a tone of voice, a head tilt, a touch, what is it? Answering this question will give you an idea of how you might boost your flirting by utilizing the brain's natural desire to form associations. Simply making someone happy will cause them to associate that happiness with you. But if you reinforce this with a sentence, a smile, a look, or a touch, the impact will astound you. Try it out. You'll be blown away. Your mission is to try to form a bond with someone at work or in a social event. Observe how their facial expression, breathing, and posture vary to determine their mood. Smile, nod, and say yes when they get into a good mood. Continue to do so for at least 10 minutes. Then nod and say yes when they are in a neutral mood. Take a step back and observe the outcome. As previously said, words must be decoded and processed in order to be comprehended. The act of decoding itself will guide the listener through the process of accessing feelings. You can use words to invite people to feel different emotions. Are you having a good time? For example, are you having a good time? It's fine to have a good time. It's also important to have fun. Are you having a good time? The brain is wired to form connections. What is this like? And where have I encountered this before? Are continual questions in your subconscious mind. We develop ties to prior thoughts and sensations when each new thing happens to us. We are always looking for meaning in life, and we do it by categorizing, analyzing, and associating occurrences. You smiling at me suggests you like me, for example, is an example of a linguistic relationship. I like you if I feel a warm sensation around you. All spiders are harmful and are about to attack me, for example, are unhealthy linkages or phobias that we establish. I'll be embarrassed if I enter a new social scenario. Understanding how to link someone's happiness to your own is a valuable ability. If you want to utilize language to elicit positive emotions, here are a few magic words to get you started. Be aware, be aware of, 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 be. They're all awareness verbs, meaning they make the listener's brain process anything you say later. I'm sure you're aware that you look amazing in that dress, for example. Are you aware of how fortunate we are to be sharing this sunset together? Would you like to have a taste of Latin dancing's passion? Notice how free you feel with the breeze in your hair. Think about how rare it is to be able to strike up a conversation with someone you've just met. Can you imagine how much more fun we could have if we worked together? These words are equally effective in both queries and statements. The phrase can either refer to what has really happened or establish an expectation of what might happen. The use of mindfulness verbs. It's now your turn. For each awareness verb, write a couple of sentences. You'll be astonished at how much pleasure you may derive from making others happy. Consider how your flirtation will reach new heights, and how you'll be surprised and delighted by the results. Words can be linked in a variety of ways. As previously said, The brain searches for connections and relationships. A skilled flirt isn't going to leave these connections to chance. You can relate a cause to an effect or imply that something leads to something else by using the following words, as well as an example, using words like cause and effect. For each cause, effect word, write a couple of phrases. You'll feel increasingly flirty as you write each line because practicing indicates you're getting closer to your objective, which produces rising excitement. Goodbye. It's not a farewell, but an au revoir. Being a terrific flirt has a nice side effect. People want to be around you and may want more of you than you want to give. It's crucial to learn how to make people feel good about their time with you. The alternative is to burn and churn, which will result in bad karma and a terrible reputation. When we were teaching people how to flirt, we observed that they could use their flirting talents to create contact more easily than they expected. A night out with a flirting guide on the street. The media frequently approaches us with requests for stories based on case studies of our work. A popular women's magazine approached us and requested if they may witness, interview, and photograph a group of flirting coaching females. The aim was to select 4 volunteers who had previously struggled with flirting, coach them on the fundamentals, and then release them into a crowded downtown pub on a Friday night. The first participant, Louise, a magazine journalist, was on a mission to gather as much information as possible for her article, and was eager to put our flirting methods to the test. Lisa was told she was gorgeous all the time, but she didn't believe it. This had an impact on her self-esteem and the image she projected to the rest of the world. Anna was quiet and reserved, and she spent much of her time hunting for a life companion. Her preoccupation with this kept her from meeting new men because she was constantly criticizing them. Karen had a boyfriend, but she wanted to improve her flirting skills. We gathered at a popular after-work hangout, where Steve, the magazine's photographer, joined us. We decided that they would not leave the pub with someone they met during the flirting game after around 30 minutes of describing flirting attitudes and practicing some fundamental ability. They would never make eye contact for more than 15 minutes, and they would always disengage, leaving the boys feeling fantastic. We met up again after the initial 15-minute session, and the girls were ecstatic with their accomplishments. Everyone had exchanged smiles and made eye contact with a lot of individuals. They'd all gotten hellos and chats, and half of the group had gotten a phone number. Louise had informed her new acquaintance that she was working on a piece and requested him to join her in a photo shoot. He was disappointed, but he was a good sport about it. We headed to the cocktail lounge for the second round. Because most people were sitting or milling around in small groups, this was a more difficult location to navigate. Our flirt students were ready to try some more overt signals, such as passing past someone to catch their attention or inclining their head to suggest an offer to join them at a table. Now that they'd had some success, they were all conversing with someone fresh in no time. The 15-minute time limit forced all of the girls to offer a lot of green lights in order to gain results. The strength of the enthusiastic response was something they hadn't anticipated. As a result, they frequently forget how to pace their flirting and gracefully disengage. The takeaway from this is that a successful flirt is always aware of how the other person is feeling. The girls were so focused on honing their verbal and nonverbal abilities that they overlooked one of the most important attitudes, taking notice, and the ability to make the other person feel good. The common misperception is that meeting people is difficult, when the real challenge is flirting without the promise of more. This guarantees that both parties enjoy the flirtation while also ensuring that they don't expect anything that isn't on offer. When you've made it plain that you're merely flirting, disengaging is as simple as saying, "Thank you. I've liked talking with you." Anna, who had started out shy, came to life towards the end of the night and, despite receiving a few numbers, decided that Steve the photographer was more her style. She inquired about his phone number. Lisa, despite her poor self-esteem, had gathered the most phone numbers and felt good about herself when she returned home. Karen spoke with a pilot who was upset that the flirting had to end there, but they parted as friends after Karen explained her goal. Louise was satisfied with the information she received for the article, but she had not learned anything and desired to withdraw. She was last seen exiting the bar with 2 attractive 20-somethings. As we discussed in Chapter 1, the norms of politeness encompass connecting and disengaging when flirting in Victorian times. The narrative of Benjamin Disraeli, a major character of the time, is told by Robert Greene in his book The Art of Seduction. He dressed in gaudy, flashy garb, adhering to all of the odd dandy styles. He also created novels, flowery works of fiction that reflected his everyday dandy mannerisms. His stories were really fantastic. Disraeli was also not a particularly attractive man. It's difficult to imagine a more improbable romance in Victorian England. Despite this, both men and women were drawn to Benjamin Disraeli. His infamous wit, indulgent, tolerant demeanor, and unflappable composure were all present. Then there was his ability to converse. He appears to listen to you with his entire body, to comprehend your feelings, and to consider your thoughts. When I left the dining room after sitting next to Mr. Gladstone, I felt he was the cleverest man in England. One princess who fell under his spell wrote about Disraeli and his great political opponent, William Gladstone. But after sitting next to Mr. Disraeli, I thought I was England's smartest lady. He was a flirt and a charmer, and his journals reveal that this was all part of a deliberate and planned plan. Disraeli was elected to Parliament, where he charmed his peers, gradually becoming one of the most popular members and finally becoming the Tory party's leader. Then, in 1871, this guy, who appeared to be an outsider, was elected Prime Minister of England in one of history's most extraordinary political triumphs. Disraeli had to keep in touch with Queen Victoria on a regular basis as Prime Minister. It's difficult to imagine two persons who are more dissimilar. The Queen was obstinate, glum, insecure, and conservative, the polar antithesis of Disraeli. In such a setting, a normal man would struggle to tone down his showy qualities, which would undoubtedly irritate Queen Victoria. Disraeli, on the other hand, increased his charm. He openly flirted with the Queen, writing her love letters in the form of legislative notes, calling her pet names, sending her flowers, thoughtful presents, and affectionate letters. To put it another way, he treated her as if she were a lady he was wooing. Was the Queen disgusted, afraid, or humiliated? No, she was enslaved by his spell just like everyone else. But she was enslaved even more deeply than everyone else. Simply put, the Queen fell in love. He made her feel not only like an attractive woman, but also like a capable and confident leader. She became his staunchest supporter, and the pillar of his authority, finally elevating him to the title of Earl of Beaconsfield, a peerage position that fulfilled all of his ambitions. Disraeli's narrative exemplifies the benefits of having the correct attitude, being in the best mood, flirting freely, and making others feel happy. Disraeli was also strategic in his approach, which will be discussed in the following chapter. Points to remember. Make a positive connection between how you feel and who you are. Encourage the other individual to be proud of oneself. Keep your flirtation to a minimum. Disengage from fashion. 12. Flirting with purpose. Is it best to let it come spontaneously, or do you need a strategy to flirt? This is a question we've been asked a lot, and the answer is that you need to work both. Flirting is typically done on the spur of the moment. You don't need a plan to flirt properly. Flirting is more enjoyable when it occurs spontaneously, with no preconceived notions or goals in mind other than to have a good time. Flirting, on the other hand, can assist you achieve your aim if you have a clear purpose in mind. It pays to plan ahead. The most common goal of flirting is to gain attention, which works equally effectively in business and in love. Consider Jenny's story. She knew she wanted to meet Sean. All she had to do now was find out how and when she could. Jenny was out and about in one of the city's prominent pubs, speaking with a bunch of people and appearing to be having a good time. When we spoke with her later, we discovered that the night had been meticulously orchestrated to ensure that she met Sean. Jenny had spotted Sean at a party a few weeks prior and wanted to meet him, but he had brought a date. Jenny decided to take a step back and conduct some research. She knew people who knew Sean, so she began a clandestine investigation. Sean was single, she discovered via her inquiry. She also realized that she knew a few of the others in his circle. She reasoned that if she accompanied individuals who knew Sean well, they'd all wind up at the same area and eventually introduce her to him. This is precisely what had occurred. Jenny began spending more time with people she assumed were his buddies. They were glad to keep inviting her to meet up with them because she was a bright, lively, and good-time addition to the group. She began to form new friendships as a result of this, but she did not become close to anyone in particular. Sean was ultimately introduced to her after a 3-week wait. She'd been introduced to him the night we saw her in the pub, and she was now conversing with him to get to know him better. Jenny had been chatty and nice to the other guys for a few weeks, but she hadn't given off any flirtation signs until she met Sean. She began sending clear signs of interest in his direction as soon as she met him. Jenny's flirtation increased when he replied by flirting back. Sean's flirting got more direct, and their body language was undeniable, she noticed. They were quickly doing the courting dance, leaning in close, giggling, whispering, and casually caressing each other to make a point. Jenny's plan to meet Sean had been planned with the precision of a military operation, but it appeared natural when she became a part of the group who hung out together. Jenny made a distinction that was clear to both Sean and the other males because she had not flirted with any of the other guys in the group. Jenny's method worked since it was evident to Sean that Jenny's seductive comments were intended solely for him. Her meticulous planning and well-thought-out ideas had paid off. Jenny and Sean had been together for almost a year and were set to move in together when we last saw her. Don't get us wrong, we don't advocate stalking. There is a fine line that must not be crossed. There is a company in the United States that will find out everything there is to know about your romantic target for you, as well as arrange for accidental meetings where you will be at the same party or seated next to the unsuspecting bunny on a plane. This is not something a skilled flirt would do. It's not about making someone feel special. It's about fulfilling a personal desire. And it might land you in jail. There's a considerable difference between stalking and running into someone you're interested in. For example, you might pay attention to when and where that person has coffee and simply chance to be there. This is strategic. It's a bad idea to hang out outside their house using binoculars. While you can flirt with almost anyone, you will prefer to flirt with certain people over others. While flirting with multiple people at once is possible, group flirting is similar to doing anything in a group. Not quite as much fun and nowhere near as discreet as one-on-one flirting. Choosing someone to flirt with is akin to choosing a chocolate bar from an assorted box to eat. Everybody has a favorite. You might prefer the coffee cream or the almond praline. So pick this one, pop it in your mouth, and enjoy the taste experience as it coats your insides. Sure, you could have another, but you've already taken the time to enjoy the first. Consider how different the feeling would be if you grabbed a handful of mixed chocolates and shoved them all into your mouth at once. All of the flavors would become mingled, and the subtleties of each would be lost in a sea of chocolate, cream, nuts, cherry liqueur, and toffee. How do you choose who you want to flirt with? It's a combination of how someone appears, how energetic they are, and an almost unconscious synergy. Previous encounters will have given you insight into how various types of people will react to your flirting. Because you now have a stronger sense of self, you may find that the focus of your decision has moved. You'll start paying closer attention to who you flirt with and the outcomes you get now that you've resolved to become a master flirt. Both your talents and your intuition will improve with time. Jane had never considered herself a flirt, but everyone who had heard her spend time on the phone with clients knew she was a natural at it. When she learned about our project, she exclaimed, "Ooh, could you please give me some pointers?" We flirtatiously said, "We're not sure you need any. I suppose I've been working on it." We inquired, "How do you know who to flirt with?" "It's just the way they sound. I know it's all right to flirt because there's something in the voice. So I say something cheeky and see how they react." "What makes you want to flirt with someone? Is it their expressions on their faces? Is it the way they interact with the people around them? Is it a matter of energy? What does it mean to you?" Take a moment to consider the folks with whom you've recently flirted. When flirting strategically, you need to know who you want to flirt with and what you want to achieve. To do so, you must adopt the correct mindset, be at the right place at the right moment, and be ready to give the appropriate signals. The strategic flirter understands the importance of pacing the action with the correct nonverbal signals and flirty language. Intentions for the future. When flirting strategically, it's critical to understand your aims, as your intentions will determine your outcomes. If you have an intention but don't have a plan, you may be misconstrued, with hilarious to terrible effects. So, when you flirt, what are your intentions? Before you let the magic go over this checklist, but keep in mind that these are only a few of the reasons why you might flirt. Is it a natural extension of my character? Is it to make other people feel special? To make their day more enjoyable? Is it to look for a potential dating partner? Is it for the purpose of getting laid? Is it to make a tough situation more bearable? Is it to make a positive first impression? Is it for business purposes? When your flirting has a specific goal in mind, you'll want to be very specific about the what, why, when, and how. The what is your desired outcome or aim. It could be being noticed, getting a date, or landing a lucrative business contract. The why is what drives you to achieve your objective. How patient and persistent you are will be determined by how motivated you are. The when refers to a specific point in time. It's all about knowing when to flirt, where to flirt, and how to pace the flirting. It's the how that determines your strategy, action plan, and next steps. Your how-to strategy will include the flirting techniques you believe are most appropriate for the scenario. Will you be more productive in person, over SMS, over the phone, via email, or a combination of all four? The method also entails laying some groundwork, like Jenny did by joining the organization that would introduce her to Sean. However, keep in mind that these are only a few of the reasons you could flirt. Is it a natural extension of my character? Is it to make other people feel special? To make their day more enjoyable? Is it to look for a potential dating partner? Is it for the purpose of getting laid? Is it to make a tough situation more bearable? Is it to make a positive first impression? Is it for business purposes? Hunting in small groups. Many of the folks we've talked to and watched like to flirt in groups. A group of single girlfriends or pals will go to the pub, the beach, or another common gathering spot. The benefit of this method is twofold. First, you have the advice of your friends to assess your target's suitability and encourage you to initiate contact. Second, strategic flirting alone can be risky and make you appear desperate, which is not appealing. People gravitate toward groups that are having a good time. They want to join in the fun. So, how does it function? Here's an example of a common scenario. A group of ladies goes out for drinks after work. They have a good time catching up and discussing. One of the girls notices an attractive guy among a group of men and approaches him. Her buddies look him out, and his cuteness is decided by a communal vote. If the group agrees, the curiosity level rises to you go, girl. The first step is to make eye contact, and then it's all about time. The attractive guy will eventually buy another drink, and the interested girl will just be in the bar at the same moment. The cute guy is getting the green light after more eye contact and an accidental touch against his arm. Soon after, the two groups of friends begin to interact, and the flirtation begins. Boys in packs will frequently employ the same tactic, but they must be careful not to become overbearing or blokey. In A Beautiful Mind, there's a beautiful scene where a stunning blonde and her companions walk into a bar. Except for the John Nash character, all of the lads salivate over her and become competitive, attempting to figure out how to get an advantage and score the blonde. The catalyst for John Nash's theory of controlling dynamics is this situation. He explains to them that if they all go after the blonde, they would block each other and no one will be able to score her. If they go after her friends after failing, the friends would give them the cold shoulder because no one likes to be second best. He goes on to say that if no one goes for the blonde and instead goes for her pals, they will all get laid. Despite his lack of social skills, John Nash recognized that flirting sometimes needed a method to be successful. Everyone has their unique flirting strategy, although most people aren't aware of it. Jill informed us about her friend Rachel, who, in her opinion, had a wonderful flirting style. When we were doing our preliminary study, Rachel had no notion what her plan was when we chatted with her. When we questioned Renee and Trent, both self-proclaimed master flirts, they gladly divulged their flirting tactics, beliefs, and attitudes. We began by inquiring about their strategic intentions, the what and why of flirting. Then came the when and how questions. When you flirt, what are your intentions? Renee, it's an energy thing for me. I enjoy playing with people that have the proper amount of energy. I flirt with both women and men, so it's not necessarily sexual. What I usually do is concentrate on their first concern, themselves. When a man and I have a mutual attraction, I will make it plain to him that I want to learn more about him. I'll experiment with various flirting approaches and be a little provocative, so the message and intent are clear. When I flirt, my goal is to arouse sentiments in the other person and to be playful. I try to take them to the limit of their comfort zone in a light and entertaining way, to brighten their day with a little playtime and levity. Trent, for me, flirting is about the male-female dynamic. I don't flirt with other males since it has sexual overtones. I rely on being cheeky and charming to get somewhere or accomplish something. Therefore, if I want to be upgraded on a trip or need assistance at the bank, I'll always choose a female flight attendant. For example, at the airport, I pretend to be dumb and in need of assistance, so I appeal to their feeling of importance and make them feel good about themselves. When do you start flirting? Renee, whenever I have the opportunity. Flirting is acceptable practically anywhere if done in a lighthearted and entertaining manner, as it makes everyone feel good. Flirting is another way I utilize to improve communication with someone. Flirting is a great way to start a discussion and lighten the mood. Although I find that the more attention I pay to someone, the more attention I get. I don't utilize flirting purposefully to acquire something from others. Better service, the best table in the restaurant, and an upgrade are all things I receive. In every way, people are more inclined to assist me. Trent, when I'm attempting to deviate from or break a rule, I need to persuade the decision maker to collaborate with me. I like talking on the phone because I can use their creativity. I flirt in two ways: for an outcome, a relationship or sex, and for sport, just for pleasure. We both like it, but there's no intention behind it. How do you go about flirting? What methods do you employ? Renee, the situation, the person, and the desired outcome all influence strategy. They could be as subtle as maintaining eye contact or as overt as gripping a man's arm, staring him in the eyes, and telling him how powerful he is. I know it's self-evident, but males adore it. Overall, it's about genuinely caring about the other person and listening so intensely that all other distractions fade away. It's all about asking questions, figuring out why things are the way they are, and penetrating the other person's heart and soul. If chemistry is involved, it's about catching my breath, smiling a subtle, possibly suggestive smile, being acutely aware of body language, standing closer than normal, almost touching but not quite, then emphasizing a point with a brief touch on their arm, hand, or, if I'm feeling particularly daring, their leg. Email flirting is the most powerful kind of flirting I've ever encountered. Because of the medium's seeming anonymity and ease of discourse, incredible intimacy can be developed and honest communication opened up. It's so much fun to play with innuendo and double meanings. Trent, I give a grin. I'm understated, with lots of eye contact and a sense of comedy. It's critical that they like you, and I utilize humor to do so since it relaxes individuals and makes them feel comfortable and secure. I'm not the sort to transmit messages across the room, so I utilize wit for genuine interaction. I get up close and personal, so I enter first, read the vibes, and then flirt if it's acceptable. I can't do that at a distance since my strength is in interaction. What flirting techniques do you employ? Trent, because I'm an opportunist by nature, my plan is always based on the opportunity that someone has offered to me. A glance, a comment. As a hook, I use humor and pay attention to body language. Flirting necessitates a sense of self-awareness. I'm also interested in what the woman is doing. I don't come in with a vocal compliment like, "What gorgeous eyes you have," or something like that. As a result of my affirmation of them as a person, they let down their guard. It works much better if I converse first and then compliment her eyes later because I've already engaged her and don't sound so superficial. However, I must choose that moment with care because timing is key. We ask because knowing when to employ a tactic is just as crucial as knowing when not to use it. Is there any circumstance in which you will not flirt? Renee, every scenario and person is distinct. When I'm pitching for business, I try to avoid flirting, but I'm sure it's so ingrained in me that I unconsciously flirt in some subtle way all the time. Trent, without a doubt. I don't flirt in places where I'm held accountable. I'll only flirt with pals if I know it'll be safe and enjoyable for them. I'd never flirt in front of a group of friends for sport because something could go wrong and ruin friendships. Flirting needs to be without consequence for me to be able to walk away if things aren't going well. It has a lot to do with being aware of the situation. You'll be a hopeless flirt if you don't pick up on the vibes. Renee and Trent appear to be secure in their flirting abilities and are aware of the methods they employ. They each have a flirting approach, and they both agree that it makes their lives more enjoyable and playful, as well as providing a few side benefits. Get a friend to answer the following questions for you because you may not know what your flirting moves are. But first pour yourself a great big drink because this is going to be a lot of fun. Make a check mark next to any answers that apply. As a flirt, how would your friend characterize you? Master flirt, great flirt, flirts all the time, doesn't flirt often, is too shy to flirt, flirts with everyone, only flirts if someone starts flirting with you, only flirts with someone you truly fancy, only flirts with someone you really fancy. When you flirt, you'll find yourself in the following situations: a business, a social, a pub or club, a public place, a beach, 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 a beach. What were you wearing? Sexy formal swimwear, 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 sexy formal swimwear. How did you get to your decision? They showed interest in you via their looks and voice. Someone introduced you to others, and they showed interest in you through their looks and voice. What nonverbal cues did you employ? The scan, hello, hello, lock and load, smiling brow, flash, hey look at me, solitary dance, toss, tilt, and laugh, hair flip, look. I'm vulnerable, the whisper, fondling things, the brush, the lean, the touch, the foot to foot, knee to knee, or thigh to thigh play, hugs, kissing other people. How did you become acquainted with the individual? Linguistic use, mirroring and matching, questioning, comedy, humor, 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 humor. Do you use stop, go, or do you give all green lights? Do you try to bridge the gap? Why yes and no? Do you hide and wait to see what happens? Why yes and no? Is there any place you'd never flirt? What is your plan of action? When you flirt, what are your intentions? When do you start flirting? What kinds of flirting techniques do you employ? Do you know when it's appropriate not to? In a relationship, flirting. What happens if a flirtation turns into a relationship? Do you ever stop flirting with your significant other? Do you make an effort to avoid flirting with other people? Hugging and kissing each other. Use of language, mirroring and matching, asking questions, humor, and other methods were used to get in step with the person. Do you use stop, Go, or do you give all green lights? Do you try to bridge the gap? Why yes and no? Do you hide and wait to see what happens? Why yes and no? Is there any place you'd never flirt? An excellent flirt flirts with their lover all of the time. Why would you ever quit flirting if it's all about having fun and making the other person feel acknowledged, complimented, and appreciated? Flirting with your lover follows the same steps we've discussed so far in this audio. Because there is the added layer of sexual closeness in a relationship, you can take flirting a lot deeper and definitely further. Rob and his wife Isabel continue to flirt as much as they did before. They were out for drinks with friends one Friday night, and he asked, "Are you thinking about wearing that short black skirt today, Bella?" as he was leaving for work. "Why are you concerned in what I might or might not have on tonight?" she said, to which he replied, "Because if you're thinking of wearing that skirt, I'll spend the day thinking about your fantastic legs." They had both spent the day looking forward to the night ahead. They piqued each other's interest by being flirtatiously playful. Their flirtation lifted their spirits and made them feel valued, sensuous, and seductive. Flirting keeps Rob and Isabel's relationship fun and alive, and they never forget how to have fun with each other, putting everything together. Consider how different your life will be now that you've infused some flirting magic into your daily interactions. Consider how you will receive better service at stores and restaurants if you flirt with the employees, more joyful assistance if you ask with a grin and a little flirting, and a better reaction to your requests if you can put yourself in the shoes of the other person. When talking to someone for the first or umpteenth time, you are fearless as a superb flirt. You know how to get in step with someone you want to flirt with and how to offer an engaging question when you meet someone you want to flirt with. Now it's time to put it all together. Flirting attitude, flirting abilities, and your own distinctive touch to be a cheerful, light-hearted flirt anytime and everywhere. Points to remember. Great flirts plan ahead of time when they want something or someone. They know why, what, when, and how. They know what strategies to use when and where. And they put it all together with style. When do you start flirting? Renee, whenever I have the opportunity. Flirting is acceptable practically anywhere if done in a lighthearted and entertaining manner, as it makes everyone feel good. Flirting is another way I utilize to improve communication with someone. Flirting is a great way to start a discussion and lighten the mood. Although I find that the more attention I pay to someone, the more attention I get. I don't utilize flirting purposefully to acquire something from others. Better service, the best table in the restaurant, and an upgrade are all things I receive. In every way, people are more inclined to assist me. Trent, when I'm attempting to deviate from or break a rule, I need to persuade the decision maker to collaborate with me. I like talking on the phone because I can use their creativity. I flirt in two ways: for an outcome, a relationship or sex, and for sport, just for pleasure. We both like it, but there's no intention behind it. How do you go about flirting? What methods do you employ? Renee, the situation, the person, and the desired outcome all influence strategy. They could be as subtle as maintaining eye contact or as overt as gripping a man's arm, staring him in the eyes, and telling him how powerful he is. I know it's self-evident, but males adore it. Overall, it's about genuinely caring about the other person and listening so intensely that all other distractions fade away. It's all about asking questions, figuring out why things are the way they are, and penetrating the other person's heart and soul. If chemistry is involved, it's about catching my breath, smiling a subtle, possibly suggestive smile, being acutely aware of body language, standing closer than normal, almost touching but not quite, then emphasizing a point with a brief touch on their arm, hand, or, if I'm feeling particularly daring, their leg. Email flirting is the most powerful kind of flirting I've ever encountered. Because of the medium's seeming anonymity and ease of discourse, incredible intimacy can be developed and honest communication opened up. It's so much fun to play with innuendo and double meanings. Trent, I give a grin. I'm understated, with lots of eye contact and a sense of comedy. It's critical that they like you, and I utilize humor to do so since it relaxes individuals and makes them feel comfortable and secure. I'm not the sort to transmit messages across the room, so I utilize wit for genuine interaction. I get up close and personal, so I enter first, read the vibes, and then flirt if it's acceptable. I can't do that at a distance since my strength is in interaction. What flirting techniques do you employ? Trent, because I'm an opportunist by nature, my plan is always based on the opportunity that someone has offered to me. A glance, a comment. As a hook, I use humor and pay attention to body language. Flirting necessitates a sense of self-awareness. I'm also interested in what the woman is doing. I don't come in with a vocal compliment like, "What gorgeous eyes you have," or something like that. As a result of my affirmation of them as a person, they let down their guard. It works much better if I converse first and then compliment her eyes later because I've already engaged her and don't sound so superficial. However, I must choose that moment with care because timing is key. We asked because knowing when to employ a tactic is just as crucial as knowing when not to use it. Is there any circumstance in which you will not flirt? Renee, every scenario and person is distinct. When I'm pitching for business, I try to avoid flirting, but I'm sure it's so ingrained in me that I unconsciously flirt in some subtle way all the time. Trent, without a doubt. I don't flirt in places where I'm held accountable. I'll only flirt with pals if I know it'll be safe and enjoyable for them. I'd never flirt in front of a group of friends for sport because something could go wrong and ruin friendships. Flirting needs to be without consequence for me to be able to walk away if things aren't going well. It has a lot to do with being aware of the situation. You'll be a hopeless flirt if you don't pick up on the vibes. Renee and Trent appear to be secure in their flirting abilities and are aware of the methods they employ. They each have a flirting approach, and they both agree that it makes their lives more enjoyable and playful, as well as providing a few side benefits. Get a friend to answer the following questions for you because you may not know what your flirting moves are. But first, pour yourself a great big drink because this is going to be a lot of fun. Make a check mark next to any answers that apply. As a flirt, how would your friend characterize you? Master flirt, great flirt, flirts all the time, doesn't flirt often, is too shy to flirt, flirts with everyone, only flirts if someone starts flirting with you, only flirts with someone you truly fancy, only flirts with someone you really fancy. When you flirt, you'll find yourself in the following situations: a business, a social, a pub or club, a public place, a beach. What were you wearing? Sexy formal swimwear, 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 sexy formal swimwear. How did you get to your decision? They showed interest in you via their looks and voice. Someone introduced you to others, and they showed interest in you through their looks and voice. What nonverbal cues did you employ? The scan, hello, hello, lock and load, smiling brow, flash, hey look at me, solitary dance, toss, tilt, and laugh, hair flip, look. I'm vulnerable, the whisper, fondling things, the brush, the lean, the touch, the foot to foot, knee to knee, or thigh to thigh play, hugs, kissing other people. How did you become acquainted with the individual? Linguistic use, mirroring and matching, questioning, comedy, humor, 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 humor. Do you use stop, go, or do you give all green lights? Do you try to bridge the gap? Yes and no. Do you hide and wait to see what happens? Yes and no. Is there any place you'd never flirt? What is your plan of action? When you flirt, what are your intentions? When do you start flirting? What kinds of flirting techniques do you employ? Do you know when it's appropriate not to? In a relationship, flirting. What happens if a flirtation turns into a relationship? Do you ever stop flirting with your significant other? Do you make an effort to avoid flirting with other people? Hugging and kissing each other. Use of language, mirroring and matching, asking questions, humor, and other methods were used to get in step with the person. Do you use stop, go, or do you give all green lights? Do you try to bridge the gap? Yes and no. Do you hide and wait to see what happens? Yes and no. Is there any place you'd never flirt? An excellent flirt flirts with their lover all of the time. Why would you ever quit flirting if it's all about having fun and making the other person feel acknowledged, complimented, and appreciated? Flirting with your lover follows the same steps we've discussed so far in this audio. Because there is the added layer of sexual closeness in a relationship, you can take flirting a lot deeper and definitely further. Rob and his wife Isabel continue to flirt as much as they did before. They were out for drinks with friends one Friday night, and he asked, "Are you thinking about wearing that short black skirt today, Bella?" As he was leaving for work. "Why are you concerned in what I might or might not have on tonight?" she said, to which he replied, "Because if you're thinking of wearing that skirt, I'll spend the day thinking about your fantastic legs." They had both spent the day looking forward to the night ahead. They piqued each other's interest by being flirtatiously playful. Their flirtation lifted their spirits and made them feel valued, sensuous, and seductive. Flirting keeps Rob and Isabel's relationship fun and alive, and they never forget how to have fun with each other, putting everything together. Consider how different your life will be now that you've infused some flirting magic into your daily interactions. Consider how you will receive better service at stores and restaurants if you flirt with the employees, more joyful assistance if you ask with a grin and a little flirting, and a better reaction to your requests if you can put yourself in the shoes of the other person. When talking to someone for the first or umpteenth time, you are fearless as a superb flirt. You know how to get in step with someone you want to flirt with and how to offer an engaging question when you meet someone you want to flirt with. Now it's time to put it all together. Flirting attitude, flirting abilities, and your own distinctive touch to be a cheerful, light-hearted flirt anytime and everywhere. Points to remember. Great flirts plan ahead of time when they want something or someone. They know why, what, when, and how. They know what strategies to use when and where. And they put it all together with style.